versus modern wives. So come on in, join us. Are you a man looking for a wife? Do you prefer a trad wife, or do you prefer a modern day wife, right? Oops, yeah, oopsie. Yeah, it was showing on your camera.
There we go.
Okay. Yeah, so let us know what you're looking for, who you want to date in your future. And yeah, so I was looking at like some of the things on Quora here. Yeah. And so this one says women's behavior.
Wait, who is it written by?
This,
Valentina Gomez.
yeah.
Okay, let's see.
She says, in many traditional or conservative societies, women were expected to prioritize their family duties and were discouraged about pursuing anything that would hamper, family life. So men would lead the family until the women were expected to dress conservatively. Traditional women took gender-specific roles, and to upkeep the family unit. So modern day women today are able to look at for their own interests, seriously, right? And goals, their freedoms, and they are able to access education, healthcare independently. So with the respect to public policy, so they are able to vote and serve public interests. And so most modern women also take care of their careers in and outside their home and enhance their personal growth. They can dress and live in more liberal ways, So a lot of times when women were dependent on men, it seems like men would dictate how women can wear.
Yeah.
But when women are not being dependent on men and they can decide how to dress and wear, it means that they're dressing
however they want.
However they want, right? So with today's recent trends, modern women have not come without controversy because they are going against the grain.
Right.
And then it comes with when it comes to desirability, there are men who yearn for women who once adhere to traditional values due to the combativeness of progressive women.
You know what I hear though when he's reading this or reading through this Quora post about modern traditional women?
Yeah.
It seems like the woman's role was solely to serve somebody else.
Hi, Cheyenne.
Like the woman didn't have an opportunity at all to prioritize or even think about herself. She was just a vessel or a tool for her family. And it's so funny we don't talk about traditional male roles because even with like traditional and modern, et cetera, what we don't realize is those things only existed because we had the economy to do so. Like after the economy changed, you couldn't have a family on a single income anymore.
Yeah.
And so a wife couldn't just have her only job be raising a family. After World War II, when all the men were sent off to war, they had to come back. A woman had to stay back and work.
Yeah.
So suddenly they needed more rights. They needed to be able to do more things. And also, it seems so unfair to see a whole human being as solely their job and the only thing they can do is raise a family.
Okay.
Don't think about what they want to wear, and it's only for the sole benefit of their family. It kind of seems a little bit to me like when it's too traditional, the woman just disappears. Whereas when it's maybe a good balance, a woman can have her life and her own interest and her family.
Hi, Cheyenne.
Carhartt jacket. We have some funny people in the chat today. But Monica, you're from Kenya, so they have a significantly more like traditional lifestyle.
Well, not when you go into the rural areas, like there are still women who are playing a more traditional lifestyle. And to be honest, I would say the African woman was not really affected by like not having voting rights because once Kenya like got independence, the African woman could obviously just vote, right?
Right.
But what happened is when the British came in Kenya, they pushed everybody into the reserves, right? And so men had to go to the city to take care to work. And so women were left at home with a lot of like responsibility already.
Oh, I see, I see, I
So
see.
when your man is not around, so you have to do the cooking, the cleaning, like
everything.
everything, do
Yeah.
a little business here and there. So I see like so our culture was kind of already destabilized before the modern woman comes.
Oh, okay, 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 okay.
So it's really hard to tell though.
I see, I
Yeah.
see, I see.
Yeah, traditionally, like African women, if you look at some places, they build their homes. They build like the manyatas, like the Maasai women. Their responsibility is to build the home, the house, right? And men go like doing pastures. So there's this long distance where men are not there and women are left doing their own
Everything,
thing.
everything. And what I hear too is, so I've lived in really conservative cultures and very liberal cultures like the U.S.
Yeah.
I've been in Sudan, I've been to Japan. Most of Central America is very conservative still.
Yeah.
And as you know, in the Western world, where women are able to do what they want. And it's so funny how we talk about just solely women. It's really just like a man's control over a lady's or woman's life.
Yeah, but have modern women gone too far? Let's say like OnlyFans women.
OnlyFans.
Right?
You know what I think about OnlyFans though? I think it's a toxic byproduct of the porn industry. Because think about it, these women aren't selling to other women; they're selling to men, and they're selling that same like source of prostitution that guys have always been paying for.
Yeah.
And now they're making money from it. But
Yeah.
I think too many people are starting too young.
What about like the boob jobs and BBL? Like literally modern women
crazy.
putting silicone in their body.
Think about why they do it. I personally am super against doing any dangerous cosmetic surgery.
Yeah.
Like BBLs can kill you, but these girls aren't doing it most of the time aren't doing it solely for their own confidence.
Okay.
A lot of times it's for like the attention of a man. Like a lot of women center their whole lives on men. And not just like their husbands or not a man that is like doing something for their lives.
Yeah.
They're
So
centering
are
their
men
lives
wanting women like this for marriage? Like the
for
bottom
marriage.
line, right? Like to build a life with. Because most women yearn to be parents, and have children and probably have a home, run a home. But is this what men want? Is this what men that are wanting to build a family want? Do they want BBLs and boob jobs and lips that look like?
So my brother is a good example of someone who was looking for like a wife and a mother.
Hi, Vic.
And it really does tell you like what do you look for in someone you want to marry. And personally, if I think about someone, if I was a guy and I'm thinking of like who I want to marry and spend my life with,
Yeah.
their physical features won't matter as much as their personality. But if they have like over exaggerated features, I know there's some like confidence issue going on. I know that somewhere in their mind and their heart, they're really looking for like external attention. And I know that that's going to impact our relationship later down the line.
Yeah.
My brother, he's someone who was looking for a wife, and he met his fiance, and he's a person who's from the U.S. and he's also very like traditional. He wants to be a dad, he wants to be a working husband, he wants to like have his family, and he's in Japan. I think Japan has a good balance of tradition and modernity, but I think on a social level, people should be able to have the choice of being traditional or being modern. I don't think on a governmental level, the government should decide. Because there's cultures, for example, like in Sudan, where it is like the government's say on who gets to dress like what. Like if you go outside dressing too provocatively, you can get arrested. But on a personal level, I think people should be able to choose. And
I mean, people should be able to choose what they want.
Right,
what
right.
they want, how they want to dress.
Because it kind of makes it seem like a woman's only
But
ideal in life is being married.
But men choose who to marry.
Right.
Right.
And I think women are more of the choosers now. But what do you think? Okay, let me ask you a question. The birth rate around the world is declining. Like South Korea, they're a negative birth rate. Japan, the U.S., all the modernized countries where women are getting education is declining so much. So since the birth rate is declining and women are the birthers, are men the selectors or are women the selectors for marriage?
So if you think about just the question about men having to ask women, are you going to marry me? Will you marry me? Of course, he's selecting a woman and courting her and then asking to be in her life, right? So there are still women that men don't want a long-term relationship with, and men categorize women
Quite quickly.
quite quickly, right? They'll be like,
Vic said, I want to go to Mexico to find my wife, just working hard right now to provide for her. I mean,
Vic, why do you want to go to Mexico and not here in America?
I love Mexico. I love Mexican people. I think Mexican women are the coolest.
Yeah.
But they also have like, they're very empowered in their roles.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I've noticed too is that for America and for like European countries, when they were fighting for their rights, they were very disempowered in their traditional roles. Like white moms get crumpled. They get walked over by their kids. When I started dating white guys when I was in college, I went to go visit his mom and he called his mom by her first name. Like, who calls their parent by their first name? And so the mom kind of became like a quiet working force. And Japanese women, they experience the same thing. Like, they're not really empowered deeply in their roles. And a lot of times their husbands are kind of like ghosts. They disappear, they do what they want, they don't really respect their wives. So if we're talking about the cultures that really push for modernity, they're also the same cultures that had disempowered women in their traditional roles.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a correlation there.
There is.
Yeah, I
Whereas
think there's
African women didn't.
Yeah, I think there's a correlation there where, you know, but there is also something that I believe, like just a man wanting his wife to dress more modestly is because she is also an influence to his children.
That's a good point.
Right? So if I don't want my children to have low self-esteem and have BBLs and all this, I'm not going to look for a female to marry that has all those qualities, you know, because you have to think about, if you're a serious man, you're thinking about your children and the kind of role models that they're going to have. The same way we as women look for men with kind of role models that we want to have for our children. And time again, you know, those traditional morals kind of
pop back up again.
Pop back again because they have been tested by time.
That's true. That's one thing I can say that I'm happy about is so I was raised Christian. I'm not Christian anymore. And I think being raised Christian gave me like the idea of like a moral paradigm to like base my life on. And growing up, my mom taught me that how you dress and how you present yourself to the world is how people are going to treat you. And let me tell you, when you are a very young woman, you're so susceptible to being treated poorly by guys.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to navigate. So being raised with this like traditional sort of like keep it together, make sure you put the right message out so you're treated well when you're young, because when you're young, you're naive, right? You just don't know.
You need
that
a
the
good
world,
guidance.
You need a good guidance.
And you need to listen.
You really do to protect yourself. But now that I have more maturity, and this is an interesting conversation to have because I want to have a marriage that is more aligned with a traditional role, but I don't want children.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, ladies. AFL Beast is back!
Woo!
Glad you're back.
Welcome back.
Okay, AFL Beast, let me give you guys, can I tell your backstory, AFL Beast?
Like, I just feel women in the U.S. aren't
as traditional?
As traditional.
So what do you look for in a traditional woman, Vix? And also, like, how traditional are we talking? Are we talking 1800s, you can't have a credit card, you can't buy a house? Or are you talking more like prioritizes the family? Like you have two people in a relationship who really prioritize having kids and like raising their kids in a way that protects them. Why the camera box is is it small? I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me, let me fix it. Why is the camera box so small? Let's see.
Yeah, so today we are talking about trad wives versus...
Is it still small?
Versus modern women. You know, why do men prefer more traditional values over more modern values?
Let me retry. Okay,
I tend to think there is a point there that men...
And also, let's talk about like the women's happiness, because this is a two-way street. A man gets to choose a wife, but also a woman gets to choose a husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, still extra small. What? Okay, I'll fix it. But a wife gets to choose a husband, and let's talk about the long-term happiness, because that's important. You ever have like a house or a family that they hate each other? There's always so much tension. They're not happy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see how I can fix that. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's good for people to choose the kind of values that they want and then match up according to more, the kind of values that they want.
Right, right.
You know, I don't, I think men are pretty good at sticking to tradition.
Oh, you know what? We have an idea of like a traditional man. Wait, let's talk about the kind of man you're talking about. Because there's a lot of guys and the kind of dudes that are on OnlyFans that are looking for those girls who are on Reddit, who are on the subreddits looking at girls, and who are going after this like people say they hate the modern women, but at the same time they love watching them on the hub at night. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like if you truly dislike it, you shouldn't take part in any industries that promote those ideals. So let's
It's
talk about the
true.
kind of guy you're talking about first. Like what characteristics does he have?
So if you're looking for me, the kind of man that I think would um,
Oops.
would be good for family is obviously a traditional kind of a guy. They prioritize work, they prioritize protecting the family. They want a family, they want long-term relationships. So on a dating site, you will see men who want to have a casual something,
Casual, yeah, easy
something casual,
of accessibility.
right? And
The,
most
okay.
women don't want that.
The Queen of Weaves said, I'm 52 and married for 25 years. I consider myself a modern woman in a traditional marriage. Ooh, I'm pretty close to you. My husband is a breadwinner. I work from home, and by doing so, I was able to raise my children. Oh, that's really cool. And help my sisters with their kids. That is a really cool structure. She has that blend of like, she wants to be at home, she wants to raise her family, she really cares about her family, but she also is like making money for herself. She has her own interests. That's a great.
Yeah,
So
they
how
should
would
meet
you?
up with Vic because Vic says, I want her to take care of the house when I'm at work, and I wouldn't want her to work.
And so for the Queen of Weaves, can you tell me like how happy have you been in the last 25 years? Igor said, I'm a traditional man, conservative values, but I'm open-minded and willing to compromise. I think that's really good. Like I think more people finding that middle ground, because I did notice that we kind of went to the really extreme ends of things naturally, right? When you have a push away from the traditional, you're gonna go really extreme. But then everyone kind of comes back to that middle ground again. And I think marriages that have that middle ground of like you get to create your marriage structure.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also look at yourself. Like really, really, really ask yourself, am I someone that wants to have a stable long-term connection? Do I want children? Because how you raise your kids and how you have like children really impacts your relationship. For me, it's much simpler because I don't want kids. So I could just choose a husband who's kind, who's nice, and we can work it out between us. But if I go crazy and decide to dress crazy for 3 straight years, it only impacts me. But when I was growing up,
But not when you're in a relationship.
oh yeah, it'll affect me and my partner, but
Yeah.
it won't affect some children. Because when you start affecting kids, that's wrong. My mom was a city girl, y'all. My mom was a Chicago girl who wore really like tight clothing and big 6-inch heels to my student teacher conferences. And you know, on one hand, I'm glad she kept her individuality and like wanted to express herself, but on the other hand, it made me so uncomfortable as a kid having my mom dress so sexually in like a kid environment, right?
Yeah.
And it was just not, it's just not a good look. Being a single mom, 5 kids, wearing tall heels, dressed all crazy, it just wasn't good.
I think
Wasn't
people
good.
with traditional values are better for the family. Personally, and I think for the mental health. If you find if you nobody wants to be with the father who wants a casual relationship with their mother.
Baby mama drama. That's how you end up being a baby mama instead of like a mother.
Yeah.
And baby mama, baby daddy drama was my childhood. I can say for an absolute fact, if you are considering your long-term happiness and you're considering like what you want for yourself in the future, it is not being a baby daddy. It is not being a baby mom.
Exactly. So people who are stable, who think
Stability.
long term, also think tradition. They get strength in tradition. They anchor themselves in tradition.
So Igor said, I'm a doctor, MD, sergeant, and my wife is also a doctor. Oh, that is so cool. We have been happily married for 20 years and raised 2 children. Success in marriage is mutual respect and willing to compromise. The Queen of Weaves. Oh, the Queen of Weaves said, absolutely.
Yeah.
See, I'm in your boat too, because I think in the past, we had those traditional gender roles because people didn't know, they needed like a guidance on how to be together. Because think about it, they didn't really date the way we did, they didn't live together the way we did. You went from your family's house to your husband's house, and then what do you do next, right?
But it's not just tradition. It's not just because they did that.
Yeah.
Women are more naturally able to nurture children than men, just because of the feminine nature of.
They also sit in your body for longer.
They sit in your body. You're able to connect with them in ways that men don't naturally are not able to. Men naturally are able to think about security for the family. Like a man is usually going to be like, how does this gun work? More than women. Those are not the things that we tend. So people just didn't fall into those roles. It's kind of like they also went to where they naturally gravitated towards, and they kind of became tradition. So when a man wants a woman to stay in the house, is because they know that when the baby cries, she's able to handle that. She's more nurturing. Men like to discipline. Women are more nurturing, and kids need that kind of balance. So I think it's not just tradition. It's also like
what works best.
What works best, like leaning into your feminism and him leaning into his masculine.
So another thing that I noticed too, I traveled to 20 countries and I talked to women in every country. Of course, women are my girls. And what I noticed too was that in America, the stay-at-home moms are very, very, very lonely because they've dedicated their lives to their children. They are staying at home, and having a kid is beyond a full-time job. It is beyond working 12 hours a day. It is your whole life, your whole day, everything about you. And so they get really lonely being inside with their kids all the time, especially in the first year, 2 years. And I noticed there's a statistic that stay-at-home moms are the first or some of the biggest demographic to become alcoholics. And they started day drinking. And I had a personal friend whose stepmom became that demographic, right? But when I was in places like Mexico, Central America, and Sudan, especially Sudan, the women kind of raised their kids in groups.
Right.
So you kind of had that shared responsibility, and you still had your friends. You were still able to connect with each other.
Yeah, you still have to have a sense of community. I think for any woman who is like, you're just going to stay at home and raise your kiddo
home.
with you and the TV. I think that's exactly what men don't want you to do. They want you to be busy, and kids can be busy work.
They are busy work.
Okay, so your kid is going maybe to music class. You're meeting other moms there. They need to go to physical therapy. You're meeting people there, and you can have your own business at home if it's
That's
business.
What the Queen of Weaves said. That's what she did. Oh, Igor, by the way, did your wife, was she a stay-at-home wife? Or did she continue working as a doctor?
Eric is back. Hi, Eric. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. I hope Robert joins. I haven't seen him in a while, too. But so was your wife a stay-at-home wife? And the Queen of Weaves, how did you find it being able to work from home and raise your kids? And also, got to tell us about your long-term happiness. So, okay, here's a really fun story. Being in Japan was so interesting for me because you have that literal perfect divide between really modern and really traditional. But the government in Japan really keeps women down because employers will pay moms less money. For example, if you go to an interview pregnant, they'll pay you something like 35% less money than you would if you weren't pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And women there, what is it called? The gender pay gap is much wider. So they're kind of forced to always be with their parents or with a husband because they can't afford to live alone. It's very difficult to afford to live alone in Japan as a woman. So they're kind of a little bit pressured into it.
Even modern world, I think even here it's very expensive to live alone, and I think that pushes people to go into relationship. But I think isolation is such a bad thing for mental health that I don't see why any modern woman would think that it's okay to just live by yourself. Isolation is then the leading cause of poor mental health. and having a family.
Mm.
A family, you can live like right now, like living here by myself in the US is kind of like I get why they say like isolation can really lead to poor mental health, or even when you move to a place like Orange County, you don't have family. And I think it's good to have women understand like good mental health is also based on like you having a family, you know, as
A community.
a community, yeah, a sense of community, your tribe, and also having a
And
family,
purpose.
yeah, purpose. And there is nothing wrong with being a mother. Like I
Nothing.
think like that's a beautiful thing.
It's a biological imperative, and even though I made the decision not to do so, it's because I know the work of being a mom.
Yeah.
Like I raised my youngest siblings, I have 4 other siblings, and I raised the youngest 3. And let me tell you, it is inexhaustible work.
It
And
is.
so when I learned that work early on, I was like, okay, it's kind of like doing an internship to be a doctor, and you realize how hard it is.
Exactly. And like there is no job that you're going to go in the world and be like, oh, this is such an easy job.
No.
Like
But it's
I
like
have,
the hardest. It takes so much out of you.
yeah.
You have to be willing to like give that much. So Igor said, women work harder than men. I agree. I work, but when I get home, I rest. My wife works too, but also takes care of the household. I respect my wife and appreciate her very much. She's my soulmate.
Yeah, but you see, she's a traditional wife, right?
And she's a doctor.
And she's taking care of the home and everything.
So she pretty much works 2 jobs. So she
Yeah.
goes to work all day, taking care of patients, and then comes home, takes care of the household. So what does your wife do for herself? Like, how does she care for herself? The Queen of Weaves said, yes, we lose ourselves in our roles as wives and moms. I don't allow myself to pursue my own passions outside of being a mom. I'm a hairstylist and was one before becoming a mom. And Igor said, my wife started out as a stay-at-home wife, but got bored and wanted to work our private medical practice business and now is much happier. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the Queen of Weaves said, I began working outside the home when my kids got older. I see. I enjoyed it, but I felt guilty because I wasn't at home as much. I raised my baby sister as well. I grew up in foster care. Okay, so you know. So you've been a caretaker like most of your life.
Yeah.
So what is your like long-term happiness? Do you feel very satisfied with your life? And would there be anything you would do differently? Because I think what we don't talk about too is a lot of women are very naturally caretakers, and they want to express that.
And they want to, like,
Yeah.
and they want to, and nobody is forcing a woman to, you know, like want to have kids. We grow up like playing with dolls,
Yeah.
role playing our future as moms, right? I don't think it's fair, for example, for you to take care of another woman's child, for example, your mom's children and other things. No, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that you don't love your brothers. You do love your brothers, but it shouldn't be your job. That's why I'm
Right.
saying if
Right.
if are your woman, you're going to have children, then look for a traditional man who works, right? And then you're able to stay home and take care of your children.
So I was raised with the more so like modern mom, and I can tell you how it impacted me. So when I was way younger, of course we had to go to daycares. Now I don't know if you guys have ever spent any time in a daycare, but it is not the place for a kid. It is really expensive, one, and you have one person to maybe like 5 to 10 kids. So you're often like slid underneath the radar. And children develop a lot of weird habits in daycare because everyone raises their kids differently.
Yeah.
So one person might be very neglectful for their kid, and the kid starts acting out, like biting, scratching, kicking. Then your kid starts to do that. And for me, I think if I had, my mom wanted to be a stay-at-home mom actually, but she didn't go, and she was married when she had her kids, but they got divorced. You know, baby mama drama. I got married several more times. Was a city girl, all that kind of stuff. I think
Yeah.
she just started her life way too young. There's also a level of maturity and like a certain age you have to get to
Yeah.
be able to like have the patience to give like that, and having the trust in someone else to take care of it, because you're putting all of your life in someone else.
And that's why when traditional roles, again, that's why I say traditional roles work better, because if she doesn't have to go to work,
You can really like very specifically train your kid on how they should live and
Yeah.
create a really good person and citizen. They won't have to unlearn so many bad habits or bad things they learned while younger.
yeah.
And you know, that's
It's
one thing
a
to say.
full-time job. Being a mom is a full-time job, and I think men should pay their women who are raising their kids. Like a lot
Oh, I
of
see.
men don't give like don't treat like being mom as a
Like a
job.
job.
They think like, oh, this is something she does out of the kindness of her heart. But trust me, if I have like 5 kids, my husband is paying me to stay at home.
I
To
want to
raise
ask
them.
Igor how he feels about that because he's been a husband for a long time. The Queen of Weave said, "I'm being totally transparent because my childhood trauma I've dealt with depression for years. Me too, but mastered by throwing myself into my family and work. It wasn't until my kids got grown. That was so me. I was reading this book recently called Codependent No More because I was realizing I was masking my hurt or my own issues by always giving to other people.
Yeah.
And that wasn't going to be sustainable for my long-term happiness.
But if you choose to have kids, right?
Choice, yes.
If you choose to have kids, they are your responsibility.
But life.
It's like when you choose to have a job, right? It's your
Yeah.
responsibility. You don't wake up and say like, hey, I don't want to go to work today because I don't feel like it, right? And kids, there's no break, right? So
None.
you have to take that responsibility 100% to being a mom because you chose that.
And the Queen of Weave said, and I faced empty nest syndrome that I began counseling and learned balance of self-love and self-care. But I wouldn't trade my husband or kids for anything. Now I'm making time to rediscover myself. Yes. Oh, hi, General Tarzan. And Igor says, my wife and my best friend, also my partner in life, and my business, my lioness. Ooh, in the bedroom. Wow. All great qualities. And then Vic said, do you like countrymen or city men?
Do you like countryman or city? Like that means do you want to live in a city or do you want to live in the country? That's tricky.
I love the quiet, slow, simple life of the countryside.
Me too.
And a great cook and a great mom. You hit like the absolute jackpot of women, Igor. That's why you've been married for so long and happy, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. Where do you want to live eventually?
Oh, for me, I want to live in the countryside. I want to
Me
have like
too.
a big countryside house and like
Yeah.
a garden.
Yeah.
But for me, I know loneliness is not a good thing, but I really love being alone. I love being in like my own space and my own silence. And I think being in the countryside, we can hear the crickets every night.
Yeah.
And you hear like, you see the fireflies. Oh, it's the best feeling on earth.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why too, I think you should find a balance between being a traditional and being modern. Is that I can see how the traditional woman is like just used for everything that she has. She has to be every role. But I see how the modern woman can be used for just like sexual favors and be used and like abused and left behind
Yeah.
very, 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 very easily.
But being a mom and a traditional like caregiver, that's your job.
Yeah,
I don't think
if you wanna be a mom.
yeah, I don't think that's like if you choose like anybody is using you because you will have to there's no way two ways about it. You have to get pregnant. Your body has to be in use.
What do you think about the traditional and modern mindset for women who do not want children? Like that isn't their goal in life.
Well, if you don't want children, you don't want children.
But do you think they should live a more traditional life? Do you think it'll make them happier being more traditional, even if they don't want children in a marriage?
I mean, I don't see the reason why you say, oh, just because I want to be, I don't want kids. Now, let me go do porn.
I see.
I mean,
I see.
what?
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point. So for the Queen of Weave, she said, do you prefer the States or overseas? I prefer overseas, personally. I think living in America, it's very difficult to have the financial status to create whatever life you want. If you want to be traditional or want to be modern, you don't have the choice because everyone has to work. It's very difficult to have like a single income to support whichever life you want. And if you want a family, if you're a wife, you kind of have to work unless they're really financially set up.
Yeah.
And for me, I like the ease of living overseas. I like certain communities. I really love being in Mexico because they're very warm.
Yeah.
You feel alone here. Like when you're by yourself, you can be really alone.
Yeah, but I'm not saying that women who don't choose to have like kids cannot have a passion. Like for example, you help a lot of kids in Africa.
I do.
Right?
That's my personal like joy for me.
Yeah, she fundraises for restoration of victory in Kenya.
Yes.
And I'm not saying yes, you don't have to be. It's your choice. If you want kids, you don't have kids. But if you want kids, why not be a little bit more traditional so that you're able to instill good values in a child?
I think if you have like the baseline of like traditional values and then add in a little bit about yourself, not so much where you're going so far as like being crazy or forgetting your family, but you want to have that balance. So Igor said he's very happy, My second marriage, and this one I hit the nail on the head. I chose correctly. The second time was a charm. That's amazing. My baby sister is divorced and has no children and no desire to do so. Really, what is she like? How's her happiness level? And Igor said, my wife's from Ethiopia. Ooh, I know she's pretty. I know she is pretty. Ethiopian women are the most gorgeous women.
They're very beautiful.
And Queen of You said it's so true. I'm in California, it's expensive. It is. It really is. But I also think of like the pressure it puts on a man to provide everything for his family financially. Like that's a lot. And a lot of guys aren't having kids and families until way later in life, their 30s or 40s, because of the financial pressure.
Yeah.
And you know, that financial pressure, like you feel like everyone's depending on you, you look for an outlet or a release. You know what's the craziest thing here in California? Most of the men that hit on really young girls are guys who've been married with kids for decades, and they want someone to talk candidly about their struggles. Very candidly.
Yep.
And so they look for an outlet because they feel so much pressure and so much responsibility. And the same thing, but for women, we have each other to talk to. You have your girlfriend to talk to. Guys don't really have anybody to talk to about their stresses.
Yeah.
So that's why they turn to things like pornography or things like OnlyFans girls.
Yeah, but no, not traditional woman will be like, oh, it's okay for you to go.
They won't know.
Yeah.
They won't know.
Yeah.
That's the craziest part.
Yeah,
And
but those things are very, men don't realize it, but for me, I don't want a guy who is like addicted to porn, because I know if you're addicted to porn, you're addicted to probably going to out drinking, doing all other things that I'm like, you're also not a good example for my kids.
Right.
And I don't see.
So I only found that out because when I was in Japan, as you guys know, it's legal, prostitution is legal. And a lot of they have the traditional family structure. So the guys there will very often go out and spend time with another woman they pay for.
Yeah.
And they do this because they're pressured at work, they have no emotional outlet, their wives are at home, they have to have this like super strict life. Mm-hmm. They don't connect emotionally with their wives.
Yeah.
Because their wives, they become like professional mothers.
Yeah.
And they become less of like your wife and more of the kid's mom.
Yeah.
So they look for an outlet, and a bad outlet. This is not a good outlet.
Yeah.
And they do so by going to these places. The wife and mistress concept has been around forever.
Yeah.
But tragically, women, we don't have a husband and Mr. concept. You gotta just stick with what you got.
Yeah.
You have to choose your bucket.
Yeah. See, I am a Christian, right?
Igor said, she's my queen, black and beautiful. Igor, what race are you, by the way? Like, where are you from? And the Queen of Waves said, my baby sister is truly happy. I'm loving watching her growth. Wow. She has a bachelor's in criminal justice, but works with special needs children. Wow. She has fallen in love with herself and is so beautiful. Wow, that's gorgeous. Mm-hmm. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, so I think, like I'm a Christian, and every Christian, like true Christian, there are people who say they are Christian because their family was Christian, but if it's not a personal calling, I don't think you can say you are.
Right.
You go through a point in your life where you look at yourself and your conscience, right? And you're like, how am I living my life? Right. And what are my actions, my behavior, right? And at that moment of crisis, you become born again. And to be born again in the Christian tradition is to really look at yourself and think that I need a new way of life. I need to do different things, and you have like that strong conviction. That's why there's the whole tradition of baptism. You get baptized by the Holy Spirit, and you kind of start living a life where you practice, you practice a morally upright life, like justice, forgiveness, fairness, right? You kind of like go through that whole, and you make it your practice. So when I'm looking for a guy, I'm looking for somebody who has had that.
Someone who has those strong morals and ideals.
Yeah, that they have gone through that moment of, looking at their conscience and looking at their actions and being I'm convicted to change,
Let's go up. So Igor he's a Arab from UAE, but we live in Miami. Oh, so you already have that like culture of more conservatism and more tradition. But you moved to the U.S. and you're with an Ethiopian. Man, I know you guys have pretty kids. Like, I am convinced your kids are beautiful.
Yeah.
That's like two very beautiful cultures put together. And living in Miami, in the sun, in the fun, I'm really impressed that you kept how long have you lived in Miami, by the way? but I'm impressed you kept your like traditional values living in Miami, because Miami is a fast place. You
Yeah.
get into some really crazy stuff quickly. General Tarzan said, guys have outlets for their emotions. Some just have unhealthy habits they turn to. But there are situations where men do sit and open up about themselves in my experience. My coworkers are very open about their feelings. Trade jobs where men are working in the field can be very close to know each other for years and have good balance of traditional and modern. Oh, that's good. For the trade jobs, from what I know about trade jobs, everywhere in the world, they be cheating. They do have that like stay-at-home wives. They do have that traditional aspect, but they are like chronic cheaters. And that will impact a woman's happiness greatly if it's your partner. One of the reasons why a lot of ladies moved away from being traditional in the first place was because of the rampant cheating they just had to deal with because they had no other outlet. And you can choose your partner well all you want, but it's like the long term, they might turn to that. And if they're paying all your bills, of course, you feel a way more inclined to stay.
Yeah.
Like in Japan, for example, guys there do not talk about their feelings at all. There is zero outlets, like zero. So if that's their only like way to turn to it, right? Here, actually, let me ask you this. Do you think having an emotional outlet creates better husbands and partners?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah, I do. I think a lot of men, and I don't think it's Japan, even here,
Yeah.
I think a lot of men, because they are taught that they have to be brave and protect their women, I don't think they have a lot of emotional outlet. They're told, like, don't cry, be brave. I
Right.
think it's abusive. I think everybody should like let their emotions out sometimes in a healthy way.
Healthy way.
Again, I do find it unattractive for a guy who cries all the time. So
You get one cry session a week.
but I'm saying, like, it gets unhealthy when you bottle everything out, right?
Bottling the emotions, yeah.
Yeah, so I think men should, like, if I was a guy
Yeah.
right now, I'd definitely have a coach, and I would have a therapist, and
Yeah.
I would have somebody that I am continuously like connecting with, somebody that it will not be a penalty for me to cry in front of them.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
Right.
So Igor said he lived in Miami for 30 years and 42 in the U.S. The Queen of Weave said, I agree. When I prayed for a husband as a single woman, I prayed for a praying husband. I knew if he loved God, he could love me and my kids.
Yes.
I was raising my son, had a 3-year-old son. Wow, communication has to be taught, yes.
Yeah.
Igor said, man, don't cry. We cry on the inside from time to time. I think it is super healthy to cry. I used to be the kind of person that was like, I don't cry. Until about 2 years ago, actually. And when I started to like release it, I became a more empathetic and softer person.
Yeah.
Because you got to be soft for your wife, for your kids, but also for your friends and for your fellow human being.
Yeah, I feel like if you've got to the point in your life where you really can't release that emotion, again, I say use psychedelics. I say use psychedelics because they have a way of processing trauma faster than your therapist can do by talking to you, or like
any medication.
They just go there and they kind of start that pot of emotion and release it.
And the Queen of Weave said, physically, it's healthy to have a good cry, whether alone or with your partner, especially if you're alone. Like, I understand the shame around crying deeply. And so when you have that space to just do it alone, like free yourself, and sometimes you gotta cry because you're happy. There's something beautiful.
Yeah, I dated a guy and he dumped me, but he had told me that he hadn't cried like ever since he was like 9 years old. Ooh. Because he was trying to cry one time and somebody shut him down from releasing that. I think it was his dad. And after that, he was like, I'll never cry. Until that guy was like a rock. Like, I never saw him release that emotion. And I thought, right now I'm grateful that it didn't go anywhere, because I just know that we could have had a lot of things to work on,
That's right.
And I didn't have the mental health experience that I have right now to kind of like help. But I mean, guys don't cry. Men are taught not to cry.
I think that's the worst thing ever. I was also taught not to cry. So I understand the like emotional buildup and like backup.
Yeah.
And Igor said, we were raised differently. So men in my culture are strong mentally and sometimes too strong. It can get overwhelming sometimes, but when a man deals with it by ourselves, unfortunately, that will impact your marriage and your life deeply. Yeah. Especially in the Middle East, where they're like they are very classically masculine, which is attractive.
Yeah.
I personally prefer like a classically masculine man because I don't want to feel like I'm taking care of a guy. Like, I think a lot of the modern guys are so soft that they're so feminine, and a woman could end up being the caretaker for them. And that's exhausting. But on the opposite end is like, since they have no emotional outlets, where do you do with the, what do you do with your feelings actually?
But I think like if you're a woman and you decide to marry somebody, it's your job to take care of them emotionally. Otherwise, don't be there.
I did that for 7 years, and I can say, at least for myself, that is the breaking point of a relationship. Because you are not only a mother, not only a wife, not only a caretaker to your kids, a chef, a house cleaner, and a therapist.
Yeah, but that comes with it's like if you decide, like if I decide like, hey, this is the person that I want in my life, and this is the person that I want to care for, and I want to build a lasting relationship, then I have to be there for them emotionally.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know I have to be there. Like if you don't have time, or you come from another relationship where you're so emotionally exhausted that you're not able to give and nurture this new relationship, I'd say don't get into this relationship, because you're going to bring that, like, I'm tired, into the relationship, and nobody wants to feel like a burden.
I think you gotta have a good balance too. Like, you could guide someone emotionally, you can be there for them, be open to listening, but they also gotta have an outlet or a plan for themselves. I feel like for me, I'm a supplement to your own emotional work. Like, you could talk to me and I'll listen. If you need advice, I'll give you advice. But I don't think it's up to me to pull the emotions out.
No, yeah, that's why you actually pick somebody who is at the same level with you.
Oh, I see.
But you're going to have to nurture and pour into that relationship, because a lot of people, if like, I don't understand, it's a job. Somebody said that if he had to go through the whole emotional healing and journey that he had to go with his wife, with somebody else, he was like, I'm not divorcing my wife, because I've already done that work, right? So it's a work that you're kind of committed to do. Otherwise, we don't want people just getting married, getting divorced.
So Igor said, I'm very masculine man, but a softie for my family. I'm 6 feet tall, 212 pounds, 8-pack. Okay, he's ripped. Abby's 9% body fat, 9% body fat, and she's a woman? Oh my God, wow. She's super fit, healthy, and so is my wife. We both work out and release our stress through workouts. That is a really good point. Releasing your stress through working out. See, I can see why your wife had a really good time with you and gave so much to you, because you already had a way to release your stress. A lot of people do not have any sort of stress relief, so that stress relief becomes you. But that's what I mean by being a supplement. If they have a way to do it already and they want a little extra from you to uplift them, that's amazing. And 6 feet tall with an 8-pack, and you're like, I think you said you're 52, you're killing it. You are killing it. Wow. The Queen of Weave said, Igor, are you vulnerable with your wife? My husband will still hold stuff, but I know him so well, I give him space and let him know I'm here when he's ready. My sons are the same. Men just hold stuff. Yeah, that's so true. That is so true. And I am very understanding of that. I respect that. I respect the challenges a guy faces because of that. But going back to women and their happiness and their roles in life and society, I think if you are doing all of that, you should also demand a lot from your husband too.
Yes.
You gotta make sure you're getting everything that you want, because he's getting a lot.
See, that's the only way that works.
Really
that's
is.
The only way that works.
Really is.
Your husband, the word husband, it means to really take care of your wife, to be a husband, right?
Husbandry. That's raising cows and cattle.
Yeah, but it comes to being that to a wife, nurturing, caring, pouring into her. So I mean, why as a woman, the choice of your partner is the most important life decision that you're going to make.
Yeah.
If you don't choose a man who pours into you, or somebody who breaks you down, you will not be a good mother.
I've also noticed one thing that women do a lot is we give a lot. We give to each other a lot. We give to each other emotionally. We share a lot. We do skincare with each other. We nurture each other a lot. So when a woman isn't raised to be confident, or didn't have like a good family structure, she'll end up giving a lot to the wrong man.
Yeah.
And that will affect your long-term happiness deeply.
Yeah.
But it's a mix too. Like I notice in traditional cultures, their families are very close knit. Like you grow up with your grandparents, your parents, all your siblings, all your cousins, and having that like protective force around you helps you make better choices and partners.
Yeah.
So Igor said, I'm not emotionally closed off to my wife, but I'd rather be there for my wife instead of putting my burdens onto her. I understand that.
Yeah.
I can see where you're coming from with that. And the Queen of Weave said, yes, but when he loves you, he will step up and do it anyways. Yeah. When a man is a man, he will provide for his family, but also he will love you and take care of you emotionally as well. He will cover you. That's like the give and take. I think that is the number one thing, no matter for traditional or modern, is you got to have a good balance of good give and take.
Yeah.
And when I was thinking about both dynamics, in the traditional dynamic, a woman is giving a lot to everyone, and the modern dynamic is giving way too much to herself. And as you know, everyone on earth wants to give to other people and wants to take for themselves. If you have that good balance, you'll feel happy no matter what. Because even though I'm going to be like a childless lady living my life, whatever, I still choose to give a lot and help other people because it makes me feel happy and I feel fulfilled doing so. It's only natural. It really is only natural. We have it in us to like give to other folks.
Yeah.
Expressive interests. That's interesting. But Monica, so I think it's so interesting that you're from Kenya because you guys have such a different culture and it's all African people. I haven't spent a lot of time in just African cultures. I've only been to 2 countries in Africa, Sudan and Egypt. Mm-hmm. Would you say the men there are like really traditional and they're ready to get married early on, or do they take a longer time to get to that point?
No, I don't think even men take a long time to get like to figure out who they want to marry. Like most Kenyans like get married and like they raise their kids in a marriage, right? But yeah, but it's like again, it's like the modern people like who I feel like it's the people who want to do their own thing and not follow tradition. Those are the ones who end up in broken relationships, like from what I have seen over and over. For example, where I come from, we have a tradition of getting married. You come, you meet the parents, he meets your parents. You start the dowry process, and then you get into a marriage, you get into counseling, you start a family. But then there are people who are like, oh, you're my boyfriend, let's come stay together. And then, they have a child, then somebody moves out, and then there's like what was that? What was that? And usually, like, it doesn't work. But the people who did the exact tradition went to the family, they met, they had a ceremony.
I think it's just more gravitas around the marriage.
Yeah, and you get to meet the other people's family. Yeah. Like nobody is out there using anybody or anything like that.
Yeah.
And then they do a traditional and a Christian wedding. Like those marriages, I haven't seen anybody coming and be like, very few of them break up. They last.
Yeah, they do last. Igor said, my wife has so much on her shoulders as is with our children and medical business. So I'd rather keep my own personal issues to myself to solve and make my wife life easier, at least when it comes to me. Igor, I think that is so empathetic of you to like realize how much your wife is doing and wanting to just keep a little bit less on her plate. And it sounds like you have a good outlet for that already. That shows you're a really good husband. So just be aware of that. I think too many people get involved with someone because they love them and they get entitled to their efforts and lose that empathy. Have you noticed that actually? So I'm pretty sure you have friends or coworkers that have been married for a long time. That entitlement to the effort is so real. But you having that empathy to be like, okay, she has a lot on her plate. Let me keep it together. He said, I try not to overwhelm my wife with things she doesn't need to deal with. Yeah. I care too much about my wife's mental and physical health. Yeah. The less she deals with, the happier she is. Yeah. Yeah. That's really, really, really good of you.
Yeah. And like a lot, I find like a lot of men don't realize that from the traditional, like the Christian tradition, right? This is your home, you're the head of the home, and the woman is just there to help you out, So if a man goes into the mindset in a marriage that this is your home, it's your duty to make sure that there's food, it's cleaned, it's everything. The woman is there to help you out, to make sure that your dream about being a father, a husband, comes to reality. You know, that
I do have an idea of being a very, 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 very pampered wife. Very pampered. Because I do give a lot emotionally and I'm very affectionate, but I don't really see, and I clean quite a bit, but I don't really see myself in the role of giving absolute every ounce of myself, because that's a lot to sustain. And I notice the more you give of yourself, the less you give to yourself. So if I was married with kids, you already have a full-time job of having a child, I think it would be quite fair to ask for like a cleaner, to ask for someone who comes in maybe once or twice a week to help you meal prep.
but if you can afford it,
Oh, if you can't afford it, yeah.
Yeah, if you can afford it, I feel like it's good. But lots of people cannot, especially if they have children and they are on a budget and there's only one income. And I feel like marriage, like you can afford, like you can afford to live, like you
Have
can
somebody come cook, have somebody come clean the house for a little while.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel that if you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to be a wife and I'm going to be a mother, you have to be all in, because first of all, there are people who want your marriage to end.
Haters.
No, they're haters, right?
Oh, the Queen of Weave said, Igor, I hear where you're coming from. I do the same with my husband at times. Girl, I wish I could have had help. That's one thing too, when I look for in a future husband, is that he is comfortable and has the financial means to, whenever I need that help, he could just go and get it from me. Like, even if you choose to clean your house, because it's a very personal element, you choose to cook your own food.
Yeah.
If there's like weeks or months where you're just so exhausted,
And
someone can help uplift you.
yeah, somebody, you can get help.
Get help, yeah.
Yeah, but we are talking about like also an income level.
Yeah.
Where you know where you can
do all that.
You can do all that.
The Queen of Weave said, I look back and wonder how I did it. Seriously, I look at people and wonder how they did it too. Like, it's so much. And I noticed when I was in Mexico, by the way, that in a lot of Central American cultures, they'll have maids. They'll have someone who comes and cook for them. They'll have somebody come clean the house to help them with those domestic tasks. Like, it's just overwhelming. And you get more time back to your life. Igor said, a flower a day keeps my marriage alive. I cook and clean from time to time and make her smile every chance I have. Also, don't forget to tell her every night that she is the most beautiful woman. See, that is giving to your relationship. Seriously. You make her feel grateful. You make her feel like she has somebody that could take on that burden when she's tired.
Yeah, yeah.
And you tell that she's beautiful. That's amazing. That's a great marriage.
Yeah, you see that? Yes, that like if a man is cooking, is cleaning, and he's taking that, it's my responsibility in this house.
That's beautiful.
And my wife is helping out. Then it works, right? Because you can't always afford like, oh, to have a cleaner, somebody come. You know, like it has to be those two working together.
Egon says, I also tell her every day that I love her and we never go to bed angry. That's a good rule. That's the rule. Never go to bed angry or have any type of animosity towards each other.
Yeah.
Oh, Igor, can I ask you, if you don't mind sharing, what was different about your first wife where it didn't work out? Was she a more like modern woman? Was she someone who was very selfish? Like, or was there any element that was very uniquely different from the second marriage? And the Queen was, Igor, you sound like my husband. He will help with cooking and cleaning. I've been sick these last few years, and he's carried me without complaint. Yeah. Even once. I'm blessed. That's beautiful.
You see, like these are people who are all in.
Yeah.
In their marriage, you can go there being like, if you're like not all in, then your partner will also not be all in, right? If you're all in, they come all the way in. Yeah. And I think that's how it works. Like it can be like.
Oh, and also a question for the both of you guys. Do you guys live close to your families? And do you have any external help, like grandparents or friends that help you look after your kids? I know the Queen of Weave said that your sister didn't have any children. He said, my first wife was American white girl. Do I need to say anything else?
Damn. That was rough. That is rough.
Was she, would you consider her like a selfish person? Or did she just not give enough to the marriage? Let's find out. That also happens to Tran a lot. because the Japanese guys are so used to the very traditional woman, and they also aren't very used to like giving a lot in their marriages either. And so for like an American woman, she might give to you, but she's also gonna need a whole lot in return. Like she's not gonna give everything to you.
Yeah, but I think that's why a lot of men do not want like a modern day woman, because we have been raised in this hierarchy of society where men are the head and women, are the nurturers, like not giving, like children, raising, whatever. And when a woman falls out of that line, she creates a massive,
Very selfish and spoiled. You
yeah,
can't be selfish.
yeah,
Can't
yeah,
be selfish.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. When
Yeah.
If you're not nurturing, you're selfish,
Yeah.
and that doesn't work in a marriage and in a relationship. That's why it's like you either all in and you're happy being a nurturing, caring person, or you're on the other side being selfish. Because once you start holding back, it stops. It kind of like the music stops. Like that's why it's not working in the Western world where you know like you have your time as a child where you're being nurtured and people are putting. When you're an adult, you have to be on the other side now. You're other focused, whether it's your job, your business.
Hi Ram, glad you joined. He says, hi Beauty, how are you?
Hi,
So-
welcome.
And was she selfish with her like not contributing to the household? Was she selfish with not being emotionally available and loving? So here's a fun fact, guys. I've been asked for my hand in marriage 3 times. So every boyfriend I've had has asked me to marry them. And the very first time I was asked, I was 16. And of
Yeah.
course, 16 is ridiculously young. So I said, I want to wait till after I'm done with college before I get married. I said yes, but I said I want to wait till I'm done with college. And making the decision to wait till I was done with college made me realize that a lot of people will try to trap you because they see a good thing, but they want to keep you there so you can't run away. Because that same guy joined the military and later on cheated on me. He apologized, whatever, and I took him back. But then a few months later, he started to yell. We weren't in person because he was in the military and I was in a different state. And during that time, we'd have phone calls where he'd just like yell and scream, right? But because we were engaged, he thought he had that leeway. When we were just dating, in person, he never yelled at me. But now that we're engaged, now that he thinks I can't leave him, that's when he started acting differently. So I broke it off. I got rid of the ring, everything. The second time I was engaged, or I was asked to be married, I said no. I was 19. And again, way too young. I said, I want to wait till I'm done with college. I don't feel comfortable with that right now. It's important to me to get my education and build myself up because I know if I depend on you, you can do whatever you want. But it's always after I agree to being married that they switch up. Because when I told him that, I was like, let's take some time. I want to wait till after I finish school. I found out he was cheating on me. And the third time I was engaged, this time I said yes. I said, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I love this person. And guess what I find out afterwards? It's only after sometimes people think they have you locked down and they think you can't go anywhere that they start acting differently towards you. And so with that in mind, I think one, a lot of traditional cultures, women get married very, very young. And that youth means you're naive. You don't have an education, you can't leave them because you don't have the money to leave. You don't have the knowledge to leave. You don't have any skills to leave them. So you're forced on to be dependent. And with that forced dependency comes, I can do whatever I want. I can go out and cheat on you and do whatever I want because, well, I'm paying for everything. You're at home, what are you going to do? So Monica, I want to ask you this. How do you avoid that fate? And do you think that it's possible to do so, or should you just accept cheating as just a natural part of that dynamic?
I don't think anybody should accept cheating. I don't. Like the same way, like I say, like for me, I've gone through the whole like like life transformation change, right? So I understand like somebody who is already like cheating, they haven't gone through transformational change, right? Like for me, like when I say like I'm a Christian, I've been baptized, it means that there are things that I really cannot do. I cannot have sex out of marriage. Like there are things that I cannot do. Like like I have boundaries. If you choose somebody who hasn't gone through that kind of conviction, and again, that's why you see a lot of people looking for a God-fearing man, because a guy cannot guarantee you that he will not cheat on you. The only person that a man can really truly fear is God.
Igor, what do you think about that?
You know?
Is that true for you as well?
So yeah, my name is Kanini, and this is Shy.
Hi.
Ram says my friend face is sad today.
Aww. The Queen of Weave said, because I grew up in foster care, my relationship with my mother is strained. Me too. I had to build my own family. Me too, girl. I had my sister-in-laws and later found my biological sisters and moved here with me. That's amazing. Oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. I'm so glad you found that happiness. And she said, wow. Igor said she wasn't driven by anything other than money. Wow. And getting wealthy on other people's hard work and achievements. Ooh. Her family always told her to push for more and be more sneaky with her money. Oh my God. I met my first wife and she had good values at first, but then her family influenced her to be a gold digger and demand more. Queen of Weave said, I'm glad you were blessed with a good wife. I pray you find my baby sister to find love again. So were you guys already married when she decided to be a gold digger? If you're already married and you have like access to your husband's funds, what else do you need? Like, I don't understand that concept. I get being a gold digger if you're single and you're dating around, you're trying to find somebody with the most money. But if you're already married, what else could there be? Oh, was she the kind of person that would ask you to buy her like lots of stuff and will get mad if you don't? I've met people like that, especially in California. That's actually quite common. And then he said, I don't cheat. I never cheated on any woman. I think cheating is very disrespectful to your partner. And if you cheat, then get divorced. That's a fact. So at what point did you realize like her selfishness was out of control? Was it like after you guys were engaged that she started switching up, after you were married? And I think maybe you had an experience like me where after the ring comes on, they think they can just act any kind of way. But yeah, Monica, have you ever had that experience too where you're having a great time, you're really into somebody, and they think that you're just never going to leave them? So they switch up, they start acting different?
No. I think if you're afraid somebody is going to leave, already that relationship is.
I think it's not the fear of leaving, but they think that you won't ever leave them. So they have like, okay, I could just do whatever I want because they're always going to stick by my side.
I think that's what marriage is supposed to be. Like, I imagine if somebody kept telling you in the marriage that, oh, I can leave. Oh, I can leave, right? I don't want a partner who is also like that.
That's true.
Yeah, so I think marriage should be like, if you want to be in a marriage, I've never been married, so I'm like, if you want to be in a marriage, your partner should be able to feel that you're not going to leave them.
Do you think that, or what are some mistakes that you're willing to accept in a partner that you won't leave for?
I mean, first of all, I choose. The beginning is the partner that you choose.
Right.
Is the beginning is the partner that you choose. So I am very quickly, like when I'm dating, to be like, no, I won't accept this, won't accept this. So I am kind of like, when you're choosing a partner, you are very, what do you call it?
Going back to what Shai was saying, I think you need to set your boundaries and make them clear. People only do what you allow them to do. Yes, set your standards and stick with them. And Igor said, after we already married and I passed my exams to start making money as a surgeon's doctor. Oh, she saw you got some paper now and wanted to spend it.
Women choose the partner, right?
Ooh.
If you're choosing up, like, I think like by the time you marry somebody,
Yeah.
you know that they are going to cheat on you or not.
But did you have any idea that she would be selfish before you were married? After we already married and I passed my exam. Oh, right, you're right. So did you have any like idea that she would be a selfish person after you married? Like, did she give you any hints at all? Because there's always some type of like a little hint. I have a friend who is seeing some red flags early on in somebody that he's dating. And he's asking himself, should we ignore it or should I ignore it and keep going? Because you have to accept some flaws in people, right? But, oh, and then the Queen of Weave said, and what did Maya Angelou say when someone shows you who they are, believe them? Ain't that a fact?
Yeah.
Oh, that is so true. That is so true.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to be in a relationship where you're like, like for me, like coming from a Christian like tradition, marriage is supposed to be for life. So
Forever.
it's not supposed to be like there's divorce or anything. The reason why we get into divorce is because first you made the wrong pick. Maybe you were not aware about how to pick a partner or how to do this. And then that's why traditional marriages come, because a lot of people marrying when they are young, they need the help of their parents to figure out that person is coming from a good family. The traditional will be known to be like this and that, right? And that's why like modern things don't work, because you're like, oh, I'll just go there and I'll pick whoever and then try to make it work, and you're like, oh,
That's a good point.
they're selfish.
I think the best type of marriage is between like an older traditional woman, maybe someone in their like late 20s, early 30s, and a man who has had some type of like moral foundation. And the Queen of Weaves said yesterday, oh, the Queen of Weaves, by the way, you said you had a kid and your husband met you with your kid. What was your first partner like, and why did you decide not to marry them? And he said the signs were there. Yeah, red flags were there, but I was too busy to pay attention.
Yeah.
Because I was studying overtime, but then later I became clear out in the open. Couldn't deny it anymore.
Yeah.
That was my issue too. The thing too about the 3 engagements is that the first 2, they asked me very quickly within like just a couple months. And I think you need time to get to know somebody to see those red flags very clearly.
Yeah, I mean, the most marriages for me that have inspired me were the people who they were married. Somebody got really sick in the course of the marriage, right?
Yeah.
I have seen people walk away on their partner, walk out on their partner because
they were sick.
They got into a fire and then they were disfigured, or And then I have seen partners who stick by their partner because they were like, I married this person, and you're like, I'm inspired by those people who know, like, it was, they knew why they were getting married. It was for a lifetime, and they stuck with it.
Said, I tell women all the time, everyone has their own brand of BS. That's a fact. They could tolerate. My brand might be different from your brand, but the next woman's brand, you have to just know yourself. That's a fact. Because there is levels of, like, stuff you got to deal with, undeniably. And you got to see, can I deal with this? Or are they trying to deal with it themselves in some way? And she said, I was a baby mama. I was young and dating and got pregnant, and the dude ghosted. He ghosted you. While I was pregnant, I got custody of my little sister who was 7 at the time. Oh my God. Dang. That's one thing I can say that I think I disagree with modern culture about. And I'm definitely like towards the middle on the traditional modern scale. I'm in the middle, a little bit leaning more towards modern, just a bit. But one thing I can say I absolutely dislike the most, and I think it's the biggest scam on human earth, is hookup culture. I think hooking up is you're brainwashed when you grow up in like America, a lot of Western cultures. You're brainwashed into thinking that it's normal, it's a good thing. You're brainwashed thinking it's like liberating. But hookup culture is the worst thing on earth, because when you're hooking up, you're making the practice of making a baby, right? And when you're just dating, a lot of guys they don't have any concept of, okay, I'm gonna make this woman a mother, I'm gonna stick with her.
Yeah.
It is insane.
And I think, that hookup culture is the way,
Evil.
the reason why men want a traditional woman. Nobody wants a woman who is on the streets to be a wife.
I don't want a man that was on the streets. Let it be known. If I find out that I'm dating a guy who spent years, like decades, just hooking up with people, going around and around, I just feel like I can't trust that sort of individual. It's kind of like if you're used to eating at a different restaurant every single day. If you gotta eat the same restaurant for months at a time, you're gonna feel bored quickly. I think they don't have the capacity to like.
I don't think a man who has been with other women, even if he came and made love to you, you would feel like he's making love to a different woman. It would not feel like it's personal.
Yeah, and a lot of my girlfriends when I was younger, had that same experience of a guy getting them pregnant and leaving, and that is I feel like the most evil thing you can do. I think that's should be a sin. Is that a sin?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
good.
a sin.
Good. So Igor said, "I'm not a softy man, ladies, but I'm here on this all women stream because it's interesting to hear how women think about relationships and marriages. I hope you don't see me as a soft man. No, I think I see you as like a good husband and a loving father, and I see you as someone who really takes care of themselves and other people, and who has a lot of empathy."
Yeah,
And
and
you
I
have
think
the kind of empathy
I think
to,
a lot of men should learn from him. Like
yeah,
those values that you have right here that you're talking about.
are
I think
incredible.
they're incredible, and I think that's what missing. I mean, the dating scene has become so terrible
A
because
mess.
of the whole thing, like
A
hookup
mess.
culture. People not learning. Like I know, like
Yeah.
when you had a very selfish woman, and then you decided, okay, this is not working out for me, you probably went, did you go around and decide, okay, I'm going to look for a more traditional wife, or
Mm.
what were the values that you were looking for?
The Queen of Weave said, I met my husband through his sister, who was my client. By that time, I was no nonsense. That's a fact. We did 8 months to marry. Looking back, it was real soon. Wow. Igor said, you sound like a good man, brother. Your wife and family are blessed. Seriously. Especially because I feel like it's a really positive sign when a guy works out later in life.
Mm-hmm.
I see way too many guys who are in their 50s who look 7 months pregnant, who don't take care of themselves, and expect their wives to be beautiful, young, and hot. You know, just a couple of days ago, so we live in California, and I live near a city called Laguna Beach. And there's these two guys talking to each other. And he was like, did you see what's his face wife? She used to be such a dime back in the day, but now she looks so old. And I turned to look at these guys. Let me just say that they looked well into their 70s. And then when he said, yeah, our reunion for the class of 1988, she just looked really bad. So I'm like, wait a minute. So you're at least like in your 50s? It looked horrible.
Yeah, body shaming for me, I don't have time
You
for people
know?
who do body shaming, because anybody anybody can change. Like
Right,
your body is not guaranteed to be this way.
right.
Anybody can get into a car accident and something happens to you, or you could eat something and something bad happens, you
Yeah.
know? Like
But
body
it's the
shaming.
empathy
Yeah.
to like look good for your wife too, because you're like, my wife is beautiful.
Yeah.
She needs someone who looks good.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I'm not.
But there has to be a maturity in
Yeah.
life and some humility,
Yeah.
that yes, I am taking care of the body, but you know, like I am not attached to this body, because
Ooh.
anything can happen in your life. Like people who are in hospital, they did nothing wrong to somebody so that they ended up there and they are
Right.
not in good health. But as yes, you do your part, you take care of your body, but the people shaming other people,
Horrible.
it's horrible. I'm like, you don't want life to humble you at all.
And you know, it's always the folks who don't look good themselves who are the quickest to judge.
Yeah.
I rarely ever meet someone who's like grade A attractive talking badly about other people's looks.
Yeah, and especially as women, like we age and people want to shame us as we age. Everybody will age. Like my body at 20 and my body at 29 is not the same body.
Exactly,
It's
yeah.
not the same body. And to have the humility of learning, like your hormones will change, and that might even make you add more weight. Just the hormones having to naturally change,
Shift, yeah.
shift. It's like that's why a lot of women gain weight past 40, because they hit menopause,
Or you have kids.
or you have kids. Like
The
what?
Queen of Weave said, I've just lost a lot of weight, but my husband met me and loved me as a full-figured woman. He loved it. Now I'm half of what I weigh, and he still loves me. He loved you from the start, girl. He's like, this is my woman.
Yeah, yeah,
That's number one, too.
yeah.
Oh, you know what I asked recently?
You look, when you're looking for a man, you want to look for emotional maturity, and emotional mature people understand life, and that things change in life, right?
Yeah.
And they're able to accept you at any, at any age.
I think my engagement or those previous relationships didn't work out was because we just met each other way too young. We were shooting for an idealized fairy tale love without having the maturity, the self-control, the discipline to make it happen.
Yeah.
Especially for the guys that I was dating. Because, you know, actually, let me ask you this, Igor. Do you think it's true that men mature slower than women? But for me, I just realized that it takes a lot of mental work to be stable and be the kind of person that you need for a marriage. And even if you, no matter where you live, whatever culture you live in, you're going to have a relationship, no matter what structure or style you have. And if you do, you got to know that in your mind, I'm capable of doing so. So Igor said, Queen of Weave, sounds like you got a great man. I was like, congratulations on the weight loss. You're more healthier now. Keep it going. He said, love is beyond physical. I'm the size I was in high school. My body at 52 doesn't look the same in my eyes. And yes, he loves me. You want someone who knows, who wants to get to know you and will love you unconditionally. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Oh, before this video, I was researching more into the not trad wife, but on the man side, like the traditional man type of podcast. You guys know the ones? And I tried looking for some that were less misogynistic and more like honest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Less of, oh, woman should never leave the house, and more of like, I like my wife when she's at home and she like makes me a nice meal kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I understand. Coming home to a nice warm meal to someone who like loves you and is soft and sweet to you is wonderful. That is a great experience.
Yeah.
But so when I was watching these videos and I was looking for more like decent guys,
Yeah.
in all the videos I saw, most of the men had a comment about a woman's body and they said that they would leave if she got too big. So I asked my friends that on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
I have a big group of friends, we all go hang out, and there's like 10 to 20 of us. And I asked, if your wife gained weight or your partner gained weight, at what point would you accept it, or what point would you leave, if you would? And everyone in the group, all 10 to 20 folks, said that if it was over like 200 pounds, they would leave. Like they would get divorced for that.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the case? Do you think that's a reasonable reason to get divorced?
I mean, I don't think it's reasonable. I think people get to gain weight because of a lot of things, a lot of reasons.
We're talking like 200 pounds and unwilling to lose it.
Yeah, so maybe the marriage is toxic by the time somebody is gaining that kind of amount of weight, or maybe their hormones are, like they could be sick. They could be like there's something wrong. I'm not going to get into a point in my life where instead of helping my partner, I'm dumping them. Like have we like how did this happen? Were we not working as a team? Did we not get into like how did we get to 200?
200 plus pounds, like additional to what you're on.
Yeah, because your partner is you. So if they are gaining all those, it's like, what are you doing to contribute to their diet instead of just shaming them and telling them that if you gain 200 pounds, I'm going to leave, stuff like that. And I think that's what a lot of people do.
Igor said, okay, let me go back. So Igor, the Queen of Weave said, thank you. That's why I did it, so I can grow old with my husband and see my grandchildren. That's a fact. Real talk, culture and how you grew up is everything. I hope you do. I really do. The Queen of Weaves, I hope it is exactly as you wish. I think, too, if you want to live a long life with your family, you should take care of yourself undeniably. And for me, if you are going to star on an episode of My 600-Pound Life and you're that big, there is a mental issue going on.
There is something going on.
Yeah, there is something on the inside going on.
Yeah,
but if they're unwilling to change that issue, I think that's when it's a different conversation of.
Yeah, but if they're, like, for example, like, as a woman, I don't see my partner getting, like, to 200 pounds because I'm probably deciding exactly what we are buying at home, what's being cooked, stuff like that. I don't see how they are getting to that point unless it's, like, a health issue that they have.
Yeah, I can see that. My cousin, when she gave birth to her first daughter, she gained like 100 pounds, but she was already really slim. So just from 120 to 220. And for women, especially if you're like a black woman, that's not much. So, and her husband, an African guy, he's Nigerian, he loved it.
Yeah.
Nigerians, they love the thick, curvy ladies.
Yes.
But I noticed in certain cultures, for example, like American culture, for American like white people and Japanese people, and let me see what's another one. Some British cultures, mainly like the Europeans, they do not like weight gain. And all of the like traditional guy podcasts and perspectives, they had a big issue about their wives gaining weight.
Yeah, and like most of those women, like I like what Michelle Obama said, like grown women should not look like teenagers at all, right? Like we are talking a woman who's giving birth or whatever and expecting her to still look like a child. And I think like just because sometimes Europeans have a bad mentality about like look at Kate Middleton. She's like real thin, right? Real thin, and she's like a mother of 3. I don't think that's like a good image to have for your women to have to be anorexic and malnourished for you to think of them as beautiful. I still think that they have a very poor image about how women should look, and I think African women are like have a better like a much a healthier body image of themselves because they are not constantly being body shamed.
That's true.
And
So body positivity was a big topic in the modern feminist movement. So when I was younger, I was very, 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 very feminist. And I still believe in like feminist policies, like women should make the same amount of money for the same jobs. And especially on like the government level, I don't think a government should ever control anyone to that degree at all. But one of the reasons why I changed from being like hardcore feminist to being more womanist was because that feminism was devoted solely to like European issues, like white women issues, and less to like issues that actually impact everyone.
yeah,
And so I was really involved in the body positive community
yeah,
because I loved what it was at first. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was a time when body positivity was just starting out, and it was like if you're disabled, if you're bigger than a size 2, if you're someone who's just full figured, you can be loved and you're so beautiful.
yeah,
As a reaction to the 90s, you guys remember the 90s, like heroin chic? Those girls were so thin. It was unbelievable. It was just so crazy. So I thought it was a good thing. And then in like 2015 to maybe 2020, it transformed into fat positivity. Did you hear about that?
mm-hmm.
What's your opinion on that?
Well, I think there's extremes, right? There are extremes. Like the way I don't like people being anorexic
Yeah.
is the same way that I don't want somebody being over like 600 pounds.
Right.
Like it's not helping anybody. Um, but I think there is healthy weight, and I think when it comes to people on social media,
Yeah.
they are not even going about like being a healthy weight, like being healthy weight. They are all more being like, let's take Ozempic, let's have all our cheekbones sticking out, and I'm, you know, and there's this Western culture where they think being thin is being beautiful, but I don't think for years women who are full-bodied, who have like meat on their cheeks, like they've always been beautiful. And if you are an adult, you can do whatever you want. But
Right.
for teenagers are growing women. They
Right.
should not be expected to be anorexic or stuff like that. Young people should have positive body image, and positive body image is positive body image. If your child is 600 pounds, as a mother, as a parent, you're doing something terribly wrong.
Right.
You know.
Right. One of the reasons why I stopped being involved with body positivity was because it kind of changed to fat positivity, and it was like you would hear these stories of people being like, "Oh, being thin is racist," and that fat black women are like the least heard individuals in the U.S. And it was kind of like pandering, using black women who are overweight or full figured as a way to like pander and get validation for themselves. And the whole movement was like white. And then they used that you can't say anything about me because fat black women are here too.
And black
Like a
women
moral
are
superiority.
not fat. Yeah, a lot of people, if you look at the way the bone structure of white women and black women are, it's different. Black women do
Muscle.
appear to be a little bit thicker than white women. You can't compare inherently like how Asians look and how black women look
Right.
and how white people look. We are all different. So if you get a Caucasian girl here, she'll probably appear way more like thin, and you can shame black women for being black,
In the same
comparing
way.
them with white women. It's just
And the Queen of Leaves, oh, okay, let me go back up. So Igor said Eastern Europeans are different from Western European people. Eastern Europeans are more morally superior to Western people, also have stronger family values. The Queen of Leaves said, yes. Can you give me an example of Eastern and Western? Igor said, I fall in love with people based on what they present on the inside, yes. Not on the outside, but appearance does matter. I worship my wife. She is everything to me. She tells me and shows me the same mutual energy. I will worship the ground my wife walks on. That's how deeply emotionally I am attracted. If my husband doesn't say that to me after 25 years of marriage, then I chose the wrong one. That's the exact words you want to hear after that long in marriage. Like, that is so beautiful. But going back to body positivity and like fat positivity and how it transformed from a really good thing to like a very pandering thing, and where they just kind of use like race and body size as a way to be like, you can't say anything negative about us or this movement. I think that same thing happened with like modern feminism.
Yeah.
To where it started off as a really good thing that the world needed because women just couldn't go on like that. That was crazy. That was just crazy. You couldn't get a credit card. You couldn't buy a house. You couldn't vote. You couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
You were human beings that were making other human. Like, I feel like people don't realize that. We make people. There will be no people if women just decided not to, and women are deciding not to.
And your
now.
body will change.
Right.
If you have a baby, you have stretch marks, you have all this, all that. And I don't think that people like if you're a woman and you don't have a lot of money to do like money makeover, blah blah blah,
Right.
all these things.
You gotta accept.
Yeah, you gotta. Like, so are all men going to leave their wives because their bodies changed? You know.
No.
you
and
know.
So when I look at the body positivity movement and the feminist movement and how it's like transformed in the wrong hands, the same way I think a lot of people are asking for more like traditional relationships because they've seen this like negative transformation from a good thing. Oh, and the Queen of Weave said yes. That's like Lizzo half naked, but mad people are saying something. That's a fact. You know, Lizzo, she's losing weight now. I saw some videos of her recently. She looks great. Lizzo has such a pretty face. Like, she's always been so pretty. But since her weight was always a topic of discussion, people really couldn't see, like, her actual pretty features.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about, like, modern traditional marriages, and if we had the same conversation in the 60s when women were like, I would like to vote, they would probably be gun-ho for modernism. They would be like, please.
Yeah.
But now, since we have the choices and we've seen how a movement can evolve in the wrong way, in a pandering, just like...
I say body shaming should be outside of, you know, like, I mean, for me, I don't see like why I should be discussing anybody's body.
Facts.
And how their body should look like. Like, what say do I have in it? You know?
Exactly.
Like, I'm
exactly.
like, I don't...
And a lot of these traditional marriages in the beginning, since they marry very young, Utah's a good example of this because they that is them. They marry very young where you look a certain way. And later on, since women are like, you have to stay loyal, you have to stay committed, your livelihood is on the line if you cheat. Whereas a guy in a traditional marriage, if you cheat, I mean, that sucks, that's bad. But you're not going to lose your livelihood over it.
Yeah, and I teach people as a mental health advocate to love themselves. And, you know, I'm not going to tell somebody, oh, you're 200 pounds, there's something wrong with you.
Right.
You know, like, you have to love yourself at any age, at any, unconditionally, right? At any weight, at any skin color, you know. And that's what I teach. Like, I feel like...
Oh, that's a really good point. The Queen of Weave says she is gorgeous, but it's really not about her weight. It's about her loving herself. At least that's what I learned. Because the fat is gone, but I still wasn't happy with me. The fat is a symptom result of something deeper. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You gotta love yourself.
Oh, you know what? That's a good point too. Because the return to wanting more traditional like lives is a result of the economy. Have you noticed that when the economy was booming, not a single soul was asking for a traditional relationship? They were like, I am out there, I'm getting what I want. People were partying, having fun, the 80s, the 90s. But now that the economy has had a drastic drop and people are really struggling, they're like, well, I want to be a stay-at-home wife now because working is hard and I'm barely getting by. And guys are like, well, I want a traditional woman because, you know, going out to eat is a lot of money. I want someone who can like do this work without it being like a paid job. And even with the more modern like mindset, people are starting to split the bills in both dynamics because of the economy. Like, I noticed that social change is always a symptom of the economy and how the economy works. I don't think we would have changed. People would not have changed to being more modern if it wasn't because of like World War II and the need for women to work.
Yeah.
Man, and I'll be honest with you, when I realized that girls are just staying at home, hanging out with their kids all day versus going to work is not fun. It is not fun. It is not fun. There's pros and cons in everything. But more ladies are now seeing like just how difficult it is to sustain yourself in these work environments that they're like, I'd rather just be a mom instead. Oh, and Igor said, my wife's body changed after the birth of our 2 children, but she is more beautiful to me now than before. I love every wrinkle and imperfection because I love her and she's the mother of my children. Exactly.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can get into, even society
Yeah.
can get into this kind of space where it's like now you have weird expectations about women, and you forget that, like giving birth is a whole new
That's a whole activity.
It's a whole activity, and
Yes.
it changes a woman's body.
A lot.
And to expect that, not that to change, that she's not going to gain some weight or
Right.
lose some weight.
Yeah.
I think it's just that, like people get delusional,
The Lulu.
Yeah.
My wife's imperfections are her beautiful features that make her stand out from other individuals. And the Queen of Leaves says, wow, this is a great point. Being a mom is hard. And I feel for these single moms out there, but it's so hard. I can't imagine this on my own. Exactly.
That's why, like I say, like if you're a woman, get married, get children, because once your body starts changing, it's very hard to attract younger men or any kind of man.
If you want to attract a young guy.
Yeah, but also like men don't want to have women with other men's children, right? So it's like it's facts though.
The Queen of Weaves. When you were dating, before you met your husband, was it difficult for you to date? Because I also think that would be the case if you're a single parent. Especially, there's a lot of negative stigma on single moms. The parent who stayed, there's negative stigma. Can you believe that? When I think about that, that is so unfair that we hate single moms, but there's a dad that is not taking care of the kids out there living scot-free. So the Queen of Leaves said, I have nieces who are single moms, but fortunately they have their moms and me to fall back on. God, women are taking up so many mantles.
It's women helping other women. So
Wow.
it gets very hard to
That's
really
crazy.
to get. I mean, just think about it. Men always are attracted to younger and younger women. So once you have children, they're still looking for women in their 20s to marry.
The Queen of Leaves said, yes, it's difficult today because I didn't believe in having men around my children. Oh, that's a good point.
That's another point, yeah, especially if you have daughters.
Wow. Igor, can I ask you, in your first marriage, did you guys have kids? And then how old were you when you were looking for your second marriage? Were you still in your 20s, in your 30s? How was like your age affected who you dated? So I noticed that a lot of guys in certain income brackets, like here in Newport Beach, they will look for women who are significantly younger as like a trophy.
Yeah.
Like a fast car to show off to their friends, right? But they have a deep insecurity. So Queen of Leaves said, so I dated outside my home until I was sure I was going to marry. That's nice. Of course, not all men. There are plenty of great men who will marry a great woman with children. It's not who gave birth, who is a parent, but the person who raised them right. That's a good point. And I think it might be different for guys too. If you're a single dad, I wonder if it's just as difficult to date.
I think women are more kind of give single dads, like he's taking care of a child, he must be a good father, so he gets an up on that.
That's a good point.
But men, on the other hand, if he has like a lot of money, let's say he's a millionaire, he doesn't want to have to raise another man's child and discipline them and all that.
Co-parent.
Yeah, so he would rather like bypass a woman who also has millions and take one who doesn't have kids so that he can have his own family.
My older brother said that too.
Yeah. It's the facts.
Igor said, I had my 2 children with my second marriage with whom I'm married now. That's amazing. And, Queen of Weaves, when you were dating, hold on, let me think. When you were dating, did you feel like there was ever a time where you were discriminated against because you had kids, or were there negative reactions to it? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
So when I was younger, my mom, again, 5 kids, she would still get approached by guys out in the street when she was surrounded by all 5 of her children. So I know for a fact it can be done. Yeah. But I think it's much harder to attract like just a date in general, because you got to go through people, you got to meet folks, you don't know who they are.
Yeah, but if you like, even when you're pretty though, and you're being approached by guys, and then they land suddenly you have 5 kids.
She's approached with her 5 kids around her.
Really?
Yes. Imagine you're standing there and you have 5 little individuals around you, and they still approach you.
I'd be very suspicious of any guy who is approaching you with 5 kids. Like, what are you interested? Like, he probably thinks you're desperate, and he wants something. Like there are men who are praying for desperate women. There are men who love desperate women.
This is a fact. Oh man, That is a fact. That is a fact. It kind of seems like when you're at your lowest, you can attract some of the lowest people. So Queen Lee says, no, back in the 90s, guys weren't tripping on a woman having kids. Oh, so you think that's a newer thing, guys having like these strong opinions on women having kids. Smiley just said, good afternoon. Keep up the good work, my friends. Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining. And he said they both are beautiful. Wait, they are both beautiful with beautiful curly hair and dark olive skin. Just two beautiful souls. Thank you.
Thanks.
And he says some men prey on desperate women. They really do.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
really do.
Some men would not. They don't want empowered women.
Oh, you know what?
Men
I
who
think
don't want
it goes
empowered
back to
women.
like having, if you are a modern woman, having like certain key elements of modernity, like feeling empowered in yourself,
Yeah,
feeling confident in yourself, having a sense of identity, having your own interest, those key things never go away, no matter who you're with. Like you
Yeah.
gotta have it. You can't just be broken down to being just a role.
yeah, yeah.
When I was in Guatemala, I noticed that a lot. Like a lot of the Guatemalan women are just, they disappear, right? Like their single role in life is to take care of their family, take care of their family's business. They have no voice, no opinions. They are rarely seen, rarely heard, rarely talked about. Like I feel like Guatemalan women are the most just almost hidden, like disappeared women on earth because of that. Like they're a really super traditional culture. And I was so surprised to find that out when I was there.
But most people, if you're not like in Western society, where
Oh, he was
women,
talking about my kids. That's a fact. He said, I'm talking about my children, but you both ladies are beautiful on the outside and inside as well. I know for a fact your kids are fine.
yeah,
I know
yeah,
they are
yeah,
gorgeous.
yeah.
They are a mix.
No way they
UAE
can have
and
an Ethiopian mom and not be cute.
And from the UAE, Middle
Yeah.
Eastern and North African genes are elite. Those are some pretty kids.
Smiley J, today we are talking about like modern women versus like traditional women
and their long-term happiness and success.
and their long-term happiness. So let us know, are you looking for a traditional woman, or are you married to a traditional woman or a modern woman? Why?
So, but yeah, I know for a fact your kids are good looking. So, I have this. I think everyone has a mindset of, does a man pick a wife or does a woman choose a husband, right? Like who's the selector in these situations? And of course, you have to choose each other, undeniably. But in my view, I've noticed that a lot of women have a lot more options, especially in the dating scene. And I think that's a more modern view because of dating apps.
Well, but it depends, right? If you're a beautiful woman, you probably have more choices, right? As you age, you have way less choices. If you're a man with good money, then you know the world is if you're Jeff Bezos, you can have anybody, right? Elon Musk is paying women to have his babies. Right. All these women who are just having like different women, like he's probably had babies with like 3 different women, right? So if you're a man with money and means, trust me, you're choosing, you're picking. There are women who go to these rich basketballers in groups.
Yeah, groupies. Yeah.
Groupies to get them. So I mean, it depends. Like it depends. Like if you're beautiful, yes, you will have choices, but it will be capped with your age, right? So if you're, I would say for women who are young and beautiful, it's like
The Queen of Leaves says, yes, pretty privilege is real.
yeah. So when you're young and beautiful, you have choices. Make your
Make
pick.
good choices.
Make good choices.
Igor said, in my culture, it's the women who choose, really. Men come to a woman's house and ask for their hand in marriage of the daughter, but the daughter gets to choose if she wants that man.
Yeah.
I think there's like a difference in culture too, on like who is the selector.
Yeah.
And
but
also
men are not
privilege.
lining up if you're not beautiful. You know, so exactly. So like, what happens if you don't think like you're a very beautiful woman? You still have cards to play, right?
You do.
You can have good qualities, like you can have good traditional values. You can dress well. You can have good manners.
Dressing well changes things a lot.
Yeah. And then there are like beautiful women who move from one man to the other, so they cheapen themselves.
Oh, I see.
Then it becomes like if you're too available, then you're cheap.
So you want to be pretty and exclusive, Kind of like design. You know what? Designers use that exact concept. That's why you don't see Gucci bags in Walmart. They want a good-looking item that is also exclusive. The Queen of Weave said that's an American thing. I think the several baby fathers and men are marrying 304s now. Ooh, I feel for young women now. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but nowadays I don't know. I think a lot of American guys are going for easy, like easily accessible, because you are right. There are a lot more baby fathers and a lot of like people who are trying to establish relationships with 304s, undeniably. But it's the ease of access because a woman who is really beautiful, really elegant, traditional, all that stuff is going to be difficult. Like it's going to have a lot of needs. You have to give a lot to her. And Igor, let me know if you have had this experience with your wife because I know she's pretty. But I'm pretty sure she wasn't an easy person to get with. You probably had to have a lot of patience, have a lot of time to commit to her. And the biggest thing is how easy can you have sex with them?
Yeah.
Ethiopian women are traditional, so I know for a fact it wasn't quick. But sex is like, for most younger guys, I'm gonna speak for guys who are like 30 and under in America and like the Western world, is the number one thing. A lot of guys will not hold out for 3 months if they knew they couldn't have sex with a girl. No matter how pretty, how cool, how elegant, if it's 3 to 5 months, it's like, okay, that's too long.
Yeah.
Sexual compatibility is number one. And that reason alone can be the reason why even the most beautiful girl has to wait or have less options.
Yeah.
So Igor said designer clothes are really for broke people. Rich people buy designer clothes, but if you will never tell because there's no tag showing. Exactly.
And Smiley just said, depending on what you wear, you attract different styles of women too.
Yeah.
Even for men, though.
Even for men, yeah.
Yeah.
He said, I married a virgin. It took me 2 years of courtship. Exactly what I was saying.
Listen,
2 years of courtship. Yeah.
I mean, if a man can wait 3 months, that's upon him. Men will wait.
They will wait
for
2 years.
2 years. I know a guy who waited, like almost 3 years for the woman that he wanted.
Right.
So if a guy,
Wow.
exactly, if a man knows he's getting a good thing, he will wait. He will do whatever he needs to do. So here in America, because everything is cheap and everything moves fast, men, women are told like after 3 days, that's when the man wants to sleep with you, and they're okay with that. And it's like,
or a lot of times they call it. Oh, so for Queen Alicia said, but Igor is from a different culture, so his mindset when choosing a wife was probably different than an American man. Am I right, Igor? See, I knew it exactly. So Queen of Weaves, I'm not sure if you're black or not, but I tell a lot of black women to date outside their race and date someone from a culture that has like the values that you have. Passport bros have one thing I think is right. You should go where your similar mindset is. I don't agree with a lot of things they do, but I do agree with if you're someone who wants to have that time and want to wait, you should date someone who is Middle Eastern, who are a part of that, like, ideal. Because when I was dating like white American guys, they want to get in bed with you quickly if you're black, especially because they see black women as easy. You know, black music, black songs make it seem like we are just so easy to get with. But in reality, most black women are very conservative. And so the Queen of Waves said, yes, girl. Yeah, girl, yes, I'm black. By the way, like, where do you do hair at? Because if you're doing hair, you know, I'd like to stop by. And Igor said, I never had a date with my future wife one-on-one. Oh, it was someone always present in the room, like her sister or mom. We were never left alone in the room before we were married. Really?
Traditional values lead to long-lasting marriages, and there is a reason, because if if your focus is not on sex, it's more on building a relationship, getting to know somebody. You know, there is a reason. Like it makes you wait so that you can focus on other aspects of our relationships that actually work. So,
wow, I love that because you spend more time thinking about the person and the quality, and I think the anticipation makes it even more exciting. Like when you're able to just get the reward so quickly and get it so immediately, it kind of loses the like, I can't wait.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And so the Queen of Waves said, if I hadn't met my husband and came to a point where I was open to any race, I'm in Sacramento, but I'm from the Bay Area. Oh, so your husband is also black, but you were at the point where you're like, okay, anyone is cool. Yeah, I have always been open to dating outside of my race because being black and I'm from Gary, Indiana, the guys in Gary, Indiana are like the most stereotypical hood dudes on earth. And I do not like that type. I don't like guys who dress with their saggy pants. I don't like guys who wear J's. I don't like guys who look crazy, do the haircut, none of that.
Yeah, and I think you say that an important point. Depending on how women of a particular group like behave, men will degrade them.
Yeah.
You know, because men like grade women depending on your weight, your behavior. So even as groups, and I think this is something that black women should know, like their image online can bring down the whole sisterhood.
Yeah.
The whole sisterhood, they can
So,
bring it down.
I've been
you know
dating mainly Italian guys. I've dated Mexican guys and a white guy as like a partner. But my favorite like demographic to date is Middle Eastern and Italian because Italian guys are very passionate and they're very like loving and very affectionate. Middle Eastern guys have that as well, but they're way more reserved. Like they're willing to wait and court. Like they like to actually court you. Like they like to actually date you. And I feel like Middle Eastern guys just like love women more, or they love femininity a lot more. Whereas like a Western or American guy, kind of like a woman who acts more like them. For example, they want a strong, independent woman who goes to work, who is tough, who wears a suit, who comes back home, who like watches football with them. They like a girl who's like more bro-y. Does that make sense? Like you get what I'm saying? They like a kind of girl that will go to the bar with them, who'll go watch football with them. Whereas I think Middle Eastern guys get that women have very like feminine ideals and have like very feminine wants, and they don't really push you into doing that. So the Queen of Weave said, "You had standards, and yes, my husband is black. His mother was older and Southern. Oh, so my husband is a square from Sacramento, and I'm from Bay Area. So girl, I'm fast, man." So Gary, Indiana is right by Chicago, and women out there are quick. They're fast too. I love Southern folks, man. That Southern hospitality is so real. Oh my gosh. But what do you think about that, by the way? Like going where your type is or going where your like values are? Because you're in California with traditional values, so I'm pretty sure dating is pretty tough.
I think dating should be led by values, not by type. And values will last you longer. But if you're the like if than just going for a type.
I meant like if you go. So if you know a certain race has these type of values mostly, would you date mainly in that race? Because you're pretty traditional, and California doesn't really have like traditional people like that.
Yeah, and I'm still single.
Yeah, Monica is like, if I was a man, Monica would be exactly what I go for if I'm ready for marriage and I'm a good dude. But in California, since the California culture is very fast, Queen Weave, she knows. Like in California, people want to hook up tonight on like a drop of a hat. They don't really care about those kind of things. So it makes sense why you're single dating here, because it just isn't the right culture. Catch my drift?
Okay, fine. I'm picky. I think I'm a little bit more picky than. But I also think like I go for values.
Yeah.
I go for values. At the end of the day, I want them. Like for example, there's a reason I prioritized education because I like people who kind of are always educating themselves. So the moment I see like you didn't go anywhere past high school, you're not learning. For me, it's like we probably are not going to, match on so many other levels.
Yeah.
And then again, I'm a Christian, so I'm looking for also somebody who has this kind of same values. And and I like business, so I'm looking for somebody who is also business minded. So like I have values that are leading me into the dating. But when you meet people, they necessarily are not looking for you or the kind of person that like people are looking. It's a weird market. People are looking for so many different things. Some people are just looking for people who work out or stuff like that. So it gets there. But I think once because I have higher values, and I meet somebody with higher values, it's going to work out.
So Igor said, one day you'll meet your special man. Just don't settle for anyone. You are the prize, so never forget that. That's a fact. And Queen Weave said, I thought I would have ended up with an African man, or Middle Eastern, or Latino. I wanted a family man. Yes, here in California, they are materialistic and just want to lay up. It's sad. It's very true. So even with finding a black guy who is exactly what you wanted, that was like everything working out for you, girl. Yeah. Because it's very difficult. And it's really hard in black culture to find those type of guys, truthfully. Especially in the West Coast. Maybe in the East Coast it's easier. But in the West Coast, it's like a free-for-all out this way. So
yeah. But I also like somebody like their personality, like somebody happy. I don't see myself like, I think there are so many things that I could kind of like say, okay, you don't have to be so well educated, but I would say like the things I can compromise is if you're not a happy person, if you can just bring me joy, like those kinds of things, like how you make me feel, like those things I cannot compromise. Like you just you gotta make me feel good. So like
you don't have to have a PhD, but you definitely have to make me happy on a daily basis. She said, girl, that was God, real talk. That's a fact, girl. Like that worked out for you so well. God bless. That is so true. Man. Oh, by the way, how did you have a wedding when you got married? And Igor, did you have like a big, beautiful wedding as well? Another thing I've noticed that's different between
I'll wait for the right person. Smiley J saying like, wait for the right. I'm going to wait.
Igor said, I have friends who are black and they are wonderful people with great family values and education. Single. I can vouch for them. Good. Monica.
What?
So if you got friends, my friend Monica here is single. Monica, I don't know if you're comfortable saying your age, but she's looking for guys between how old and how old?
I mean, between at least 35 and 43, somewhere there.
You follow Monica on social media? She had a huge wedding, 10,000 people.
10,000.
Oh my!
We have two cameras, so sometimes you are reading from like Shai's camera and also my camera.
I want a huge wedding too. I want a big, massive wedding, and I want to have like at least 2 dress changes. I want to have like a month of being married, because in Indian culture, they'll have like different events every day of the month. I kind of want that, and I want to have like a final big wedding day, and then I want to take a honeymoon for a full year. Yeah, that's how I see myself. I know. That's why I have to be very patient and marry the right person.
You're gonna come out that honeymoon with a baby. I know you're saying that you don't want babies, but a honeymoon for 1 year. Hi, Faith.
Faith is back. Woo!
Faith, we are talking about traditional versus modern day women. Whether you would like to date.
My father is a shit. That is a shit is like a king, right? The guys who. Wait. Describe to us what a shit is, because I think I know, but I'm not sure. And Monica's channel is?
Post-traumatic bliss, because I'm a mental health coach. So Faith, tell us if you want a traditional man or you want a modern man.
Oh, and do you consider yourself a traditional woman or a modern woman?
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
Do you consider yourself a traditional woman? And do you think men are looking for more a traditional man or a woman or traditional woman? Yes, my name is Kanini. You can call me Kanini.
Brothers or cousins or anything like that, my girl Monica would love to marry someone who owns an oil refinery. Also, I haven't been to UAE yet, so I don't know if you heard in the very beginning.
He owns a whole oil refinery?
But I have traveled to 20 countries, and one of the next regions I want to discover is the Middle East. It's been a long time since I've been back. Yeah. She is someone who's royal but not a king. Oh, got it. Yeah. That is so cool. Can you follow? My Instagram is in my description. Please feel free to follow me on Instagram, because when I go to UAE, I want to meet really interesting people and interview them for my vlogs. And that's when a hot topic is oil, of course. But it'd be so cool to be able to interview. And you becoming a doctor when your family owns an oil refinery in UAE, that's a very big life change. Were they surprised that you want to go to America? And Queen Weave said, can you put the link to her channel in the chat? Yes. Let me go here. How do I type in the chat? Do you know?
You have to go to kind of your. Do you have another?
I don't. But it's at post-traumatic bliss. Wait, maybe we can write it and show it. But yeah, you gotta tell us more about your life, because that is super interesting. Being having a family that owns an oil refinery in the UAE and then coming to America and being a doctor and marrying a white lady, what did your family think about that at first? And oh my God, that is so cool. That is so cool.
So Faith, you said you want a modern man.
Ooh.
Woo-wee. Why not go for a traditional man? Why do you want a modern man? I'm looking for a more traditional man who wants to protect, provide.
All that. So Queen Elise said, Igor, that is so cool. Sha, I'm going to follow you on IG. My husband and I just got our passports last year. Wow. And we went to Jamaica last year. We're really ready to get my stamps. I have a tour that goes through Japan. So I do like luxury tours all around the world. And our next tour is in Japan from the February 9th to 15th. I love Japan. It's so beautiful. And it's a great way to like relax and feel romantic with your husband. So since this tour is during Valentine's Day, I think it's very energizing for couples. And if you travel, I am like the travel guru. I love going everywhere, meeting people, talking to people. So if everyone wants a suggestion on where to go, where to stay. And they're gonna say, I can meet you in Senjar, UAE. Please follow me on Instagram because I will follow you back and I'll be able to like DM you when I go. Because that is so freaking cool. Oh my God, that's so cool. You gotta tell us more. Like, I'm so invested.
Then he's saying, because a modern man, because I will
always be updated in the relationship and we will be more exposed and also exposure. Ooh.
So you are looking for somebody who can communicate. So you're thinking like a traditional man is not able to communicate.
Oh.
That makes
oh,
good
really?
sense. A good communicator.
Would you really? Because I actually really want to go, and I would love that. I would love that so much. I can. So the Igor said I can meet you in Sharjah. It's where I'm from. It's near Dubai. Oh my God, that'd be so amazing. I'd be so happy. Like that would be great. And because I want to go like next year, so that would be so amazing. Oh. Bring your kids too if you can. I'd like to meet them and your pretty wife. And you gotta tell us your whole story, like why you left, why you married your first wife, how did your family react to you marrying someone Ethiopian? People in the UAE are actually quite accepting of like marrying someone black. You know, in America, they're not very accepting of dating outside of your race. Like of my 3 boyfriends, all 3 of them, I had some type of like racist experience with their family, sadly. Yeah, but going back to Faith. So you think that a more traditional man won't be able to communicate well?
She says modern, but I think I think it's even harder to communicate with a modern man.
You think so? How come?
I just think like if a guy is not like into traditional values for me that I am into, it will be very hard for us. Like let's say somebody says like I want to be in these open relationships. Like because a modern man, they're like there's that they want like open relationships. I'm like I don't know how we can communicate this because I have seen on social media like when I'm dating like a guy with his boyfriend, with a guy and a girlfriend that they are girlfriends and they are looking for an additional partner.
That's so common.
That is modern.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, I just want traditional, please. Like I just don't want to have this conversation.
Traditional men are just limited to explore due to the culture.
That's true.
And Queen Elise said, yes, I'm going to follow you, Igor. Nice. And Igor said, I'll bring my wife and kids and my entire entourage. You never let me go by myself when I'm back home. So I travel by myself. So it's always fun to see people who like travel together as a family. I think it's so sweet. And they've probably been back a million times. So it's so cool to have someone show me like the real Dubai, like the real UAE. Because sometimes you can get kind of caught up just going to like touristy spots. So I talk to people and make friends that can tell me like what's real, you know? But going back to she wants a modern man. That's probably because she's from a traditional culture. We want a traditional man because they're from a modern culture.
Yeah.
We always want what we don't have.
Exactly. But I think because she's younger, she doesn't realize that probably a traditional man is better.
I think what you say though about it being difficult to communicate with a traditional man, I can see that too. Because the old mindset was a man to talk about his feelings. They don't cry. They're not emotionally expressive.
Yeah.
And my granddad, who fought in World War II, I never saw the man cry my whole life. Like, I never saw him express any emotion, actually.
Yeah,
So
but
I
they're
can see
more
why.
likely to believe in not going 50-50,
Yeah, you don't want that.
right?
Believe. Because if you're going 50-50 with your husband, you're doing so much work already being a wife, a mother, taking care of everything, taking care of your kids, and then you have to pay bills on top of that. That's crazy. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, they don't believe in 50-50 traditional. And most women want somebody who can provide.
Right.
And
That's why I like a blended concept, like a guy who has some modern ideals, like being good about their emotional health. Because, one of the modern ideals is mental health. They didn't really talk about that in the past. That it wasn't really a concept.
no.
So I can respect that. And Sila J said, I held a door for a woman, and her boyfriend wanted to fight. He told me not to hold the door for his girl. Ooh, jealousy.
Ooh, you're holding a
Ooh.
door for somebody else's girl.
Jealousy.
You're not respecting tradition. You're a threat.
Maybe like a mature traditional man.
You don't
And if
want to
you're
hold the
dating-
door for somebody else's girl. It's
Yeah.
like that is a threat. Like that's like announcing like I want to take over this territory. And men are very territorial.
I've had guys hold the door open for me. I don't think my partner ever thought twice about it. I just think that's just being polite.
But traditional men are that. They'll open the door. They are cultured. They have manners.
Yeah, that's one thing I can say. I wouldn't never date someone who didn't open every door for me. I'm just too used to that. And to me, that just feels so loving. Like, you love me so much, you don't want me to touch a doorknob.
Oh, she was
I
walking
love
in
that.
the store.
That guy has problems. Don't listen to that guy. Don't listen to that guy.
She was walking
Oh.
in the store.
And Igor said, my real name is Jamil Al-Bahari. Did I say it right?
Jamil.
Jamil, that's a nice name.
Bahari.
I'll tell you my real name too. My real name is Shtara Shinivri. So Shai isn't my full name, but my first name is so long, people have a hard time pronouncing it. Only when I'm in America, actually. Everyone just calls me Shai. But have you ever had a time, so for the Queen of Weaves and for Igor, you guys have been married for a long time. And have you ever had a thought or discussion about open relationships? And like, what's your ideas about that?
Yeah. What do you guys think about open relationships?
Oh,
Where
open
people
relationships.
say that they can have more than 3 people in a relationship. I
Yeah.
don't. I'm like, no.
Or they are two people who are married, but they go out and like date other people. I've noticed in a lot of Western cultures that married people who've been together for a very long time, they want to spice it up. So they're bringing a third person. And on dating apps, you'll see that a lot. But they're always looking for another woman. They're never looking for another man in the relationship.
Yeah, they're always looking for another woman to join their relationship.
Yeah.
I'm like, and you know, when you know that you're being used, is somebody, they are married and they want another partner. Now, you go into that marriage as the third wheel.
The third freaking wheel.
Yeah, and you're not in the marriage, so the government does not know you. So if this,
Right.
you're not part of any wealth distribution of any, you're just there for fun, and they use you, and then they'll dump
That's
you.
purely being used. The Queen of Weave said, girl, we are old school. We don't play that, period.
We
okay?
do not play that.
Exactly.
It's done.
Exactly.
We can't. Yeah.
It's almost like trade sanctioned cheating.
Yeah.
Like, why would you
ooh.
give them the opportunity to experience another person? Because think about this, right? I had this conversation with Monica a few days ago.
No.
If you're in a relationship and imagine 90% of your needs are being met, 90 is a big number, right?
Yeah.
But that 10%, maybe they always keep a cabinet open. Maybe they breathe real loud in your face. Maybe they snore really loud. And then they meet another person who's giving them that 10% that you don't do. They don't snore. They don't breathe all in your face. They close every cabinet. That's going to feel like a really big difference to them.
Yeah.
And they're going to forget about the 90% that they're used to. So bringing the third person is like an immediate downfall.
Yeah,
Immediate.
women get shortchanged by modern
Easy.
values. I think for me, I came to realize like women who go for modern values, like let's do like anything that's sexually modern is like you're shortchanging yourself in the dating market. Whether you're going to be I want to be
Right.
an OnlyFans
Right.
model, or I want to do anything like being I want to.
really do.
Yeah, you're just shortchanging yourself. It's like people don't value any of that.
You know what I was telling my homegirl, because she was getting these really dangerous like sexual interactions with guys that she meet on dating apps. And at this time, we were young. We were like 18, 19, right? And she would go to these guys' house, like drive to their house, do the business for them, and leave. No, nothing else involved. And I told her, I was like, girl, that's worse than being a prostitute. At least a prostitute is paid. At least they get something out of it. You got nothing. You drove there, wasted your own gas. You gave him pleasure. You got no pleasure yourself, and you leave, and you're set up to get like an STD, get pregnant, any sort of issues. That the biggest scam is convincing women that it was their empowerment to go out and have sex for free. The biggest scam,
like outside of your marriage. And I think that's why I think the good Bible tells you outside of the marriage, it's like, girl.
But they don't know this, right? It is haram.
It is
That's haram move. No respect for those type of women. But those girls are usually young, and they don't have any idea, because imagine everyone around you says it's okay. Yeah. Every song, every TV show, every music video. And when you're really young, you don't have anyone else telling you otherwise. Like, if everyone does it, it's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And then people are telling you that it's an empowered thing to do. You're making your own choice. Like,
yeah, if you have to work hard, like, let a guy who likes you come and set his intention. I want to marry you. I want to have a relationship. Like, if you're the one working hard, even on dating apps, like working hard to get their attention, all this, all that, as a woman, like, you're shortchanging yourself. It's not gonna go well. You know, you look desperate.
Yeah, I think it puts a woman in the position to chase a man too. If your man is going out, and because, I think it's harder for guys too, because for women, if we're emotionally satisfied, we don't really look for other things. For women who cheat, it's usually because they're not being emotionally fulfilled somewhere.
Yeah.
For guys, since it's so much like sex everywhere and it's so accessible, if you open the door for him, he gonna run in and out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But a lot of it, and I feel bad for a woman who acts cheaply, because a lot of women is because they didn't have a father in their life. So they are chasing that male attention at any cost, and they end up doing everything to try to please a guy, and without realizing that you trying to do everything to please a guy is cheapening yourself in his eyes, which makes him not want you even more.
Or makes the wrong people. Because think about how many people go and shop at a Dollar Tree versus how many people go and shop at, like, what's a really popular store? Erewhon. Do you guys have Erewhon out in, actually, Igor, what state are you in, by the way? You're in Miami, you're in Florida. Do they have Erewhon in Florida? Erewhon is like a really high-end grocery store. So if you value yourself less and you label yourself as cheap, you'll have people who want cheap things come after you.
Yeah. Yes, Smiley J.
Florida, yeah.
Faith, let us know, what do you think about, being in a relationship, and when somebody says, they suggest like, we want another additional partner in our relationship, would you go there?
Would you always ask young women to be the third person too.
Yeah, they always ask young girls. Like, you will find these couples and they're asking young girls to join them to be like a third partner in their relationship. Is it a deal breaker for you? Is it like a no-go zone for you? Are you traditional or are you too modern? You're like, okay.
Or you're like, it's my choice, it's my body, it's what I want to do, I want to explore.
Yeah.
Looking at the other side of the coin too. So the women that I met who were the type to explore were usually, again, from Europe, like Eastern Europe, the British, people from like the UK, the whole island of the UK.
Woke.
They're far more like liberal than even American people are. Because America has a very huge swath of people who are conservative, right?
Yeah.
And they're also liberal about like drug use.
Yeah.
And sex, and it's not seen as like a degrading or dirty thing. But what I noticed is that you're putting yourself in these harmful situations. And as much as I would love to sit back and say, do whatever you want, the chances of you being harmed in those dynamics is high. Like, because the split second from sex to violence, it's just so small, right? Like, if you say, you know what, I'm not really feeling this anymore, I don't want to do that, and you don't really know this person, you met them only a few hours ago, quick.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like as a mental health coach, one of the worst advices that people give people is, do what you want, or like do what makes you happy. You know, sometimes what you want and what makes you happy is not what is going to work.
You need some type of moral code.
Yeah, it's not what is going to work out. It's not what's going to get you to the goal.
Or to being disciplined.
Yeah, and it's...
Igor said, I fly private mostly, not commercial when I travel. My cousins let me use their personal jet, and my father always sent a jet for me to fly in. Now, I don't know if it's too forward to ask, but if you're flying private and you have an extra seat that's sitting there looking kind of empty, that's looking like it needs to be filled by someone, and you want to fill it with someone, I'm there. I have been flying economy because I am self-funding these trips, but it is so impressive that you fly private. That is so cool. Oh my God. And your cousins have personal jets? Wow. I would love to do a video where I can just like see inside of a personal jet and just see what it looks like. I bet it looks so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I'll be in economy like this. Like this is how I sit in my seat. But yeah, and the Queen of Weaves. So you've been married for a very long time. Have you ever had a point in your relationship where your partner, your husband, no, your husband's from the South, so you probably wouldn't, actually. But I kind of notice it's usually guys who bring up the topic of a third. Or if it's a woman, it's because she wants to like appease her man.
Yeah, yeah. Or people, I guess like people who are married for a long time and they are bored with each other and they financially are not able to leave themselves, to leave each other.
Yeah.
They go into like, oh, let's have an open relationship. Again, I've seen this among white couples, you know. Black couples are really like rarely good for that.
Igor says, my father has a 787, so there's plenty of seats. Let me on the plane. I would love to go on your plane, okay? I'm just saying. If you want an additional person to fill up the plenty of seats, I am plenty. Don't worry. But yeah, so going back to that, and in the very, very long term, like when I think about the end of my life and the people who can be there for you are usually like your husband, your kids, maybe some really long-term friends. I don't want to have to look at my husband and think to myself, while we were married, I was with someone else. I think that would be like hard for me to digest at the very end of my time.
Yeah.
You know? But here's another question. If you were not able to have intimacy with your partner anymore, would you stay with them? Like you guys are 20 years into your marriage, something happens where they just can't get it on no more, would you stay?
I mean, like most men, as they get older, they lose their ability. You know, they will eventually.
Hips give out?
Yeah, it happens unless they are using medicine or something. Like, I don't think that's a reason for me to leave my partner, you know.
Igor said, not my plane, my father's. Oh, my money are not my family's money, and I don't use my family's money. I want to make it on my own and earn my own wealth. Igor, is that why you became a doctor in the U.S.? Because that is a powerful mindset. That's probably why you've had so much success in your life. So in California, there's quite a few younger guys who use their parents' money on their girlfriends and wives. I don't know if you've seen that before. And when I was dating, I would be so surprised that these guys who are like under 30 would have so much money to spend.
Yeah.
And they're taking me on a date with their like parents' wealth. And when I found that out, I just couldn't do it. That just isn't... That's just like the definition of not being manly, you know? Like, unless you manage your family's business or something like that.
I mean, I don't think so.
Because I can't spend my own parents' money.
I mean,
you know?
Prince Harry, Meghan married into a...
But they work.
They don't work.
Well, they work for the crown, right? It's like a family business. They manage.
They truly work.
they work, but it's more like they manage too. Like they have to go to public appearances, so they're not just doing nothing.
When it suits them. It's like if I don't want to, you know, I don't think they work. Like I don't call that work, like to be seen. But would I marry into a place like a rich family where I didn't have to work? Of course, yeah.
I think I would want to have my husband to have a good work ethic. Igor said, I refused my family's money. I didn't take a dime, even when I was offered to be a billionaire and a parent of the oil business. I didn't take the offer from my father. Why didn't you take it? Like, what were the stipulations? Did you just feel like you have to do it on your own and make it happen for yourself? That is incredible. Oh my God, your story is so interesting.
Obviously, I don't think families can tell you, oh, just take over this business without a lot of like rules.
Yeah, there's probably a lot.
They'll obviously they'll choke you to death with their rules.
Yeah. Oh, I want to know. I want to know so bad.
Yeah, so yeah, today we are talking about modern versus traditional relationships. I think for me, like,
When you earn your own money from scratch, you learn the value of money. That is a
that's
fact.
true.
That's a
Facts,
fact.
facts, facts.
Yeah, yeah. I noticed that here in California too, the people who, like Newport Beach where we live, has people who have been wealthy for maybe only one or two generations. Like their parents got rich, their grandparents got rich, right?
Yeah,
And so it's still pretty new. And the kids of those people who have had wealth for maybe two generations are delinquents. Like they start doing drugs, they go to way too many parties, they don't go to school, they don't have any like ambitions because their parents or their grandparents were the ambitious ones that put them on the top. So they never learn the value of money or of drive. Like you got to have your own drive and your own
yeah.
ambition to make it in life. Otherwise, you'll just crash and burn no matter what. That's actually a big reason why people get into drugs in California. Like the really, really wealthy, high, well-off people in California is because of that.
They don't have goals.
None.
They don't have goals. I think, yeah, I think, and that I think it's because of parents, you know, like if you raise your kids with a lot of privilege and you don't teach them, you don't give them goals to aspire to, or you don't, you know,
They feel lost.
They feel lost. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have anything to go by. Which
I
is
was dating a
interesting.
guy who owned a magazine company, and he lived in this huge house in Hollywood Hills, right?
Yeah.
But his daughter was addicted to fentanyl.
Yeah.
I was like, how can you have everything in the world?
Fentanyl
and be
kills, like
addicted?
fentanyl is so bad, you only need a very small amount to die. Like it just kills very fast.
Ooh, he said, I make great money as a doctor in America, but no one in my family will ever use money against me. No free handouts, and I teach same values to my kids. Oh,
I know. I had
that's
a.
a good point.
I used to work with a guy. He was like a prince in like one of those Asian countries,
Oh,
but he left because like his family was bad. Like they had money, but they would kill each other, stuff like that.
wow.
I know. And so he was like, you know, it's not worth it. Like the whole everything happening. Like he had been kidnapped when he was younger. I know. It was like terrible. Like
But you know what? Now that I think about it, in traditional relationships, I'm pretty sure that's one way one thing that can go wrong is maybe your partner using money against you.
yeah, that's why
Oh,
women want like
it to work.
yeah,
Huh?
women want to work because like if I have to wait for this guy to come and provide for me and my children and he's not in a good mood, he can decide not to come home,
Right,
and my
right.
kids will not eat, and he can take that money to
Or
another
if
woman.
he decides that he wants to go see some other ladies, what are you gonna do? I have the money here.
Yeah.
Or I paid for this. I paid for everything you put in your mouth.
Yeah.
You shouldn't talk to me. Oh.
But sometimes it's not because he's traditional, but
That's
it's
just probably
because
'cause he's an asshole.
because he's an asshole.
But
And
it goes hand in hand with the power dynamic. If you think about it. Oh, Igor, how did your family try to use money against you? And is it similar to the ways you're talking about? Because when I think about a traditional relationship because you know you got to have a lot of values and empathy to have a traditional relationship.
But you see why like money is moved from one generation to another
Yeah.
because there's stewardship. So there are things that if I have money and my kids wants money, there are things that I'm going to tell him, hey, you can't have drugs, you can't do this, you can't do
Right.
that, right? And most kids, guess what? They're like, I want to live my life, right? But you can't live your life if you want money from me and you want it because I know the value of money. So there's
Right.
always going to be that conflict.
But do you think in a relationship with the wife and the husband? Oh, so Igor said, I struggled in America when I was a student, but never took a shortcut and to ask for money from my family when I had none. And I was a bar attending for rent money when my father was a billionaire. That is a movie. Your life is literally a movie. Oh my God. Like, how did you adjust? So did you grow up in a really wealthy like lifestyle?
Yeah.
And how did you adjust from that to like working in a bar in the US and being a college student?
Yeah. And if you're watching from this camera,
Wow.
there's this guy here, his name is Igor, and his family is very wealthy, like
Wow.
billionaires, but he came to the US and kind of started his own life. And you know, that goes to show anybody
As
can
a
come to the US and
doctor.
start his own life, you know.
I
his
love the
own
fact
life.
that you decided to be a doctor as well, because you could have been anything in the U.S. Actually, why did you choose to be a doctor? And like, what ways were you like unsatisfied in the UAE with your life? Because I grew up extremely wealthy, but I never wanted to be raised spoiled. Ooh. Ooh. You just had it in your mind.
You had
that-
it in
yeah.
like lots of people don't think that way.
Honestly,
Lots
how
of
did you
people
develop
don't
that
think that way.
mindset? Like, did you have another family member that influenced you? Did you see a TV show? Like, how were you influenced to have that mindset?
The way I see it, I work because I don't come from a rich family.
I had to.
I work because I have to, right? If I grew up like with money, I don't think I'll be like, you know, like I'm going to leave all this luxury behind to go get a job.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, for me, I think I still would have lived the same life I am now because I want to travel. Like, that's my whole life,
traveling,
right?
yeah.
And if you're using your parents' money, they keep you grounded. They keep you where they want you to be.
Yeah, okay, you had passion to help people. You see, that's different from being in survival and having to work.
It was from a place of love.
Comes from a place of love and wanting to work.
So you wanted to be in a role where you help people, like a doctor, and your family wanted you to be like an oil baron, you know.
Yeah.
And that wasn't for you, so you decided to leave and make it work for yourself and become successful. That is major. That is major.
Yeah, wow. Some people, you know, yesterday
So
I was talking to this guy. He wants to become a dentist, and he was in Morocco.
Oh.
And yeah, and I asked him, why do you want to become a dentist? And he was like, I want a dentist because it's a career that makes money. But I was kind of disappointed by the answer because I thought, you know, he has an inspiration to help people like create a better smile or, you know, help them do things.
I gave away all my money and even gave a house away in UAE to a good friend who was not fortunate, but was smart and needed help. Oh my God. Your wife is very lucky. You are like a gem of a person. And then you came, so what age were you when you came to the US? Because that is a major life decision.
But it seems like he comes from a lot of money where he can give things like that away.
Sure, but he gave it away to start his life in the US. Ooh. That's major. I still do. I help homeless and ill people. Yeah, because you're a doctor. Like, oh, that is incredible. Oh my God. So when you were there, did you have like a family member that was like that as well? Like who inspired you to be like this? Or was it just from your own heart? I came to the US when I was 12 years old and went to private school. Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, I think it's time.
Oh yeah. Igor, please follow me on Instagram. It's in the channel description on my page. Is at The Vanity Effect. And like, I want to know more about your story and everything else because you're so interesting. Oh my God. That's such a big change. That's a huge change in life. Wow. So let us know. We have to end our live stream. We're a little over time. So we want to say bye to everyone.
Bye. Thanks so much for tuning in.
Thank you guys. Adios.
Adios.
Bye.